The podcast is back. Welcome to Tasler Guide Service. Join along as my guests and I dive into our outdoor adventures, share some laughs, and of course a few beers. A new episode will be released every other Friday at 5 a.m. I hope you guys have as much fun watching as we did making it. So this is my favorite time of the year. You know, it's just, everything's kind of coming alive. Mushroom season's almost here. Crappies are starting to get on the beds. In your world, is this a good time or a bad time?
It's a rough time. I mean, I have to really try and squirrel in my time to get to enjoy, I love going asparagus ditch hunting for asparagus.
Yeah.
You know, and this is the time of year.
Do you have your own map?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's all up here.
It's all,
you can't believe it all around. Yeah. You know, I love doing that. I love the mushrooms, the crappie bites, a blast.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff is a whole lot of fun. And so I love this time of year.
Now, the business side, you went from, like this winter, we had a little snow.
Yeah.
JJ does a lawn care / snow removal / fertilizing / landscaping. So he is just, I need to mow my yard. You probably pulled in, you're like shaking your head at me. But I've been so dang busy, I haven't even got the mower out yet.
Oh, yeah. No, it's tough for me to get away this time of year, but like I said, I managed to find some time here and there to get it done. And,
yeah.
You know, with my daughter, she's a senior and she's in her final year of softball, so.
Yeah, you were just kind of transitioning tracks, just finishing up.
Yeah.
Softball and graduation are right around the corner.
Yeah, this year's been a little tough to sneak away. Mama's always got something there that I could be doing.
Yeah, which Emma's on a travel softball squad.
Yeah.
Gone. That's pretty much an every weekend deal.
Yeah, so.
Traveling somewhere.
Weekends are shot, and, like last night I worked till dark, so, I didn't have any time, and so, it's just kind of one of them deals. When I do get a minute, that's the first thing, I grab my rod and reel, I drive my route where my asparagus is, and see if I can get some of that, and do a little fishing. If the bite isn't on, you wander off into the timber and see if you can find some mushrooms.
Hell yes. I went out yesterday for about an hour, and it really doesn't even look mushroomy yet.
No, I think if we get this rain here this weekend, then we can get some, at least 70s temperatures.
Yeah.
I think it'd make it happen.
We need 4 or 5 days of just 80 degrees of heat, and those things would just go nuts.
Yeah, we've had the moisture this year. We just don't have any heat.
That ground was just so dry, though. It just sucked it up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go out and kick the dirt in the woods right now, it's pretty dry.
Is it still?
So, we could use a shot for sure.
Well, it hasn't taken long, like landscaping-wise. You get a rain, and the next day you can almost go right back in again. After we had that inch and 8/10, we only were out of work, not able to do work for a day and a half.
And that almost makes the landscaping easier, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It packs a little
Packs
better.
a little better. You're not, when you're running equipment, you're not eating dirt all day long.
Yeah.
That was
it's the little things.
Yeah, it was yesterday. We were putting in a new lawn, and I was running the tiller, and Dad was running the seeder, and it was just a dust bowl. I mean, it didn't matter what direction the wind was out of. You were eating dirt for all day. So, yeah.
And you don't stop because you're going to run into you.
No. Right. You'd be complaining or throwing something at me. Or,
That's just Jimmy.
Yeah. So, I love this time of year. I love the early bite. Actually, kind of a guilty pleasure is if you go down to the river this time of year, right off the rock dam, you can catch carp till you're tired of throwing a rod. And, it's kind of fun. I don't like eating them. I don't nothing, but they're fun.
Yeah. I went out creek chub fishing because I got my bait tanks filled, and I went out, I think it was Monday night. I went out just jumping from bridge to bridge. I caught like 4 dozen creek chubs, but I cast it in. Early season, I always use an ice rod because they're rigged up, ready to go. They cast far enough for a bridge. So I've got 3-pound test on this iconic ice rod, and my bobber just disappears. I'm like, that's not a creek chub. I set the hook, and it's just So I fight for 10 minutes, which is no big deal, but that's a lot of creek chubs I could have had in the bait tank. So I get this 7-8 pound carp on the bank, and now he's in the freezer for cut bait. But so I'm gonna go road hunting carp on Friday, because I work a half day on Friday.
Okay.
So I'm getting off at noon ish.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go road hunting and see how many carp I can catch on Friday.
I think you should be good, because from now until about Memorial Day, you could, and then around Memorial Day, that's when they're spawning.
Yeah.
And if you find where they're at,
They're everywhere.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, this one, I'd hooked him, and he started swirling around, and next thing I know, there's like 15 to 20 that are just chasing him around. Every move he makes, they make.
Yep.
The water was just boiling.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, people are like, why are you going to catch carp? Just because it's fun.
It's a blast.
They fight hard.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just fun.
So this time I'm gonna take my catfish and carp rods. I mean, it's named for that.
Yeah.
I've never caught a carp on it, so Friday's the day.
Friday's the day to go carp hunting.
Road hunting carp.
You'll have a good time.
Yeah, it should be good. I think I caught 4 dozen creek chubs. Most of them are cut bait size.
Yeah.
But I've got 12 that are flathead size.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I'm starting to stock up my flathead bait. So they're 8 to 10 inchers, like the big ones. And then I would go out and I've got 2 bait tanks. One, in the full swing of things, one is a creek chub and bluegill bait tank. And then I've got a bullhead and green sunfish bait tank. Because if you mix the two,
Oh yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
war happens. So I go out to where my big ones are for my flathead bait, and the hose popped out of the filter,
Oh.
and there was like an inch of water in the bottom of them.
Oh.
They looked like freaking sharks down there just swimming around. So I hurried out and scooped them into the other tank, which when you first start your tanks off for a year, you just put a few in each tank, and then it builds up the bacteria in your filters.
Okay.
So it keeps the bacteria flowing, and then it eats the poop, and
Yeah.
keeps it safe. So you can't start with like 100 in a tank, because that bacteria is not there to do its job.
Right.
So I've got to refill one tank and start it over, but the other tank should be good.
Should be good. As long as the filter or the hose doesn't pop out of the filter again.
I'm gonna have to weight it down or something, but I don't know what made me walk out there.
Yeah.
I walked out there and the ground is wet. I'm like, this isn't good. So it just literally pumped all the water out the hose. Just, and it's a 100-gallon tank, so there's 100 gallons of water, 90 gallons of water on the frickin' floor.
Jeez.
Like, god damn it.
Nice mess.
Yeah. But all the bait survived, so that's all.
That's the main thing. You don't want to have to restock that again.
Yeah.
Of course, it does give you a good excuse to go fish.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go get more bait. I mean, you can't have just 4 dozen.
So your bullheads, do you have like a area you can go to catch them?
It varies year to year. Like, I haven't reached out this spring,
Yeah.
but like I've got probably a half dozen places that sometimes produce perfect bullheads, but they cycle year for year.
Okay.
So you gotta wait till the water warms up to where they're biting normally, and then you can go and be like, okay, these are my 3 for this year.
Yeah.
Because the other 3 will either have dinks or sometimes they just disappear.
Well, that's as a kid, there was 2 or 3 ponds you knew you could go to and always catch bullheads, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just go catch. My grandpa called them yellow bellies. He loved eating them.
Yeah.
So we'd go catch the yellow bellies.
Oh, right now in the spring's the best time to eat them.
Yeah.
They taste delicious.
So we'd go load up on the yellow bellies, and and I've been back to those same ponds now that I'm an adult, and you'll catch the 6 inchers or whatever, but you can never get anything any size or.
Somebody quit fishing them.
Yeah.
They quit taking them out.
Yeah.
And then they just
stone it out.
overpopulated.
Yeah. But that was always a fun fish as a kid, because once they start biting, you just had them.
Yeah. Yeah, until you get stung 8 times.
Well,
and then you're like, God, I hate these fish.
I should look like a woolly mammoth, because my grandpa always told me to put hair on my chest when they did that every time. He lied.
He lied.
Yeah.
It brought tears to the eyes.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. Yep, that's for sure. But yeah, those are fun to catch, and they're good bait. And Well,
Yeah.
that trip I went on with you last year, that's what my dad caught that big flathead on, was the one and only bullhead, right?
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, there is no magic bait, but they're pretty tough to beat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean,
You can knock them in the head, you can throw them up against a wall. They're going to fight.
Yeah.
They're still going to swim all night long. You know, unless a turtle or a catfish hit them, they're going to be alive in the morning. You know,
Yeah.
they go after it.
yeah, the bluegill don't seem to last that long on a line.
No, they don't. When I'm flathead fishing, I like to leave bait stationary, of course, but if I've got bluegill or creek chubs out, I usually, about every 2 hours, I'll reel in. If I got a good-sized bullhead on, he's going to let me know that he's fine the whole time because the end of the rod's going.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what I like about them is, well, especially when I take my nephews or whatever, they're wanting to check their bait a lot.
yeah.
So if you put a bullhead on there, you're like, no.
No.
It's
Yeah,
still there.
Your pole is bending right now.
Yep,
He's
yep.
good. What's your nephew got a stud last year?
Yeah,
didn't
he got two of them too. He got the one they weighed was like 37 pounds, and the other one was way bigger. So
Really?
yeah, I'm guessing he was in the mid 40s. I mean, he was about the same girth, just a lot longer. Caught him out of the same hole.
That's a good hole.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good fish in
Yeah.
there.
The problem with that hole is it's on the canoe,
Mm-hmm.
and we fish a lot. And you'll get some nice channels and you get some flatheads, but keeping the gar off of your bait is miserable.
And that's a newer problem
Yeah.
for this stretch because 10 years ago you didn't know what a gar was.
No,
you know?
and honestly, until probably 3 years ago, I'd never seen one. And then one night, I kept getting my bait struck, and then nothing had happened. So I'd reel it in, there'd be a chunk out of it. And I'm like, nah, walleye ain't doing that. You know, that's
Yeah.
something with teeth.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's weird. It's a weird looking bite. It's, you know, so then I
Comes to a triangle.
yeah, I switched it up and I put a lighter rod out there with, we had some real small chubs and threw it out there and caught one.
He got it down.
He got it down and I brought it in. I'm like, what? We got dinosaurs in there? Well, then that's what we figured out. That's what's going on. It was the gar in that hole.
Yeah.
We're just shredding them.
Yeah, and that is one of the deepest spots in this area. So, you know, all your rough fish are going to congregate towards there, just like, you know, your good fish. So.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's made it a challenge keeping them. And they're fun to catch, don't get me wrong. They take off like a rocket.
But they're hard to catch.
They're hard.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't set a hook. Their jaw's so hard, they almost got to swallow the bait.
Well, what happens when people try to catch them, they put like chunks of shoelace on the hook, and their teeth get in that knitting of the shoelace, and then they can reel them in. So you don't actually hook them.
Yeah.
They hook themselves in that knitting.
Okay, yeah, because that one that I caught, I let him run with it. Like, I
Yeah.
felt him start to take it, and I just, here you go, buddy.
Yeah.
And then when I thought he had
Rude
it long
awakening.
enough, I nailed him, you know, and I had braided light on. If I'd had monofilament, I think it'd have been over right then and there. He'd have just bit through it, but
It depends on where it's at. You
Yeah.
know, it's just like anything else. Like if you're northern fishing or walleye
Yeah.
fishing, if you get a good hook set in the corner of the mouth, you're usually pretty safe.
yeah, well, this one was down the gullet. But I got him. He didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't break it off, and got him in. And my nephew thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And
Oh, I bet.
I just figured out I was really mad because that's what had been hitting our bait all night.
You,
and
you
messing
finally
everything
solve the
up.
problem
Yeah.
and it's not what you wanted.
No, that's a hard problem to solve.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know if they get it to any too much size around here because
I've seen like 3-footers.
that's what this one was.
Yeah.
About 3 foot,
Yeah.
like a missile. I mean, not very big. Just
No.
3 foot missile.
Yeah. Just bait killing sons of bitches.
They are. They're terrible. And I don't know. Do they have them in the Des Moines then?
Probably more, actually.
Yeah.
That's probably where these came from as they cycled up through.
Yeah, that's what I wondered.
So
And they made it up to here and then found a good hole to live in.
they found deep water and they're like, I like this place.
Yeah, we can mess with these dumb fishermen all the time
That's
here.
right.
They keep feeding us.
No, Bauer made a video down on the river over there where he lassoed them.
Really?
He made a setup. I can't remember exactly how, but there was no hook involved whatsoever. Get them running the bait and then yank it and the lasso would go
Really?
around them. Yeah. He said it was a blast.
I bet it
I'm
would
like,
be.
we need to do that.
Yeah, I It took me half the night just to get one caught to find out what the heck was going on.
And like I said, if you're having that issue, just a little piece of fabric or anything on top of your hook, and then that'll get their teeth knocked in it, and they can't come off. So
that's perfect.
Yeah.
I might have to just have one of them out all the time when I'm fishing.
Yeah, it's really not gonna inhibit your live bait.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a piece above it. So
right.
That's something I've thought of in those areas.
Yeah.
Because most of my areas I don't have an issue, but there are certain areas that do.
Yeah.
That it'd be kind of fun to catch all of them. If they're gonna kill my bait, I at least want to catch them.
I'll eat them. I'm not proud.
Bauer says they're delicious. I've never had them.
But has Bauer ever said a fish is bad to eat?
Yeah.
Does he?
And he's made it twice. Well, gar have, like, their guts are poisonous.
Really?
So you don't, like, fillet them out. You just take, like, the back straps.
Okay.
Like you
kind of like some guys clean a northern. Some guys will take what we call a loin out of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't want anything close to the guts because there's poisons in there.
Really?
Evidently. This is what I've read and been told.
Yeah.
But he said, as soon as you catch it, get it on ice. Because he's done that to one, and then the other one was on a stringer for a half hour, and he said it tasted completely different.
Really?
But if you get it on ice right away, clean it as soon as you get home, he said it's delicious.
I'll be darned.
But the other way, he said it was edible, but it wasn't great.
Yeah. Well, a lot of guys don't like northern pike either, and I love it.
The only thing I don't like about northern is cleaning them.
Yeah, true.
You know? But if you would have northern and perch and walleye all in a batch, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
No.
There's no way.
No, honestly, one of the few fish I can tell is when somebody puts a bass in.
A summer bass.
A summer bass. Winter bass.
Winter bass tastes great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that summer bass, you can tell right away.
And that's kind of the same way with summer catfish, with channel cat. Summer channels, you know, they get that fatty, yellowish tint to them. So there is definitely a difference, but
yeah, they're still fun to catch.
it's all good.
Yeah.
You get the bloodline out of them, you put them in Whisker Seeker batter, they taste good.
Oh, yeah. It's all about the batter.
It is. Yeah. That stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
Have you tried it?
I've never had, no, I shouldn't say never. I did have it once, it was delicious.
Yeah.
And typical, you never have it when you catch a good batch of fish, so then you just make your own and move on. But
I've got some, I'll send you home.
Okay.
I'll send you home with a couple bags. I just restocked for the summer, but they had some sale, it was like $2.95 a bag.
Really?
Yeah. So I loaded up like, I think 12 or something. So I'll send home a couple.
I'm the type, you can't go wrong eating fish.
No.
And my wife would be the complete opposite. Anytime you gotta cook fish, it's horrible. So we just came out of my favorite time of year, Lent. She's raised Catholic, and that's the only time of year I'm guaranteed to get fish at least one. Friday. Yeah. So I love it. I'm like, I can't wait for that every time of year.
Hell yes.
She can eat her macaroni and cheese or whatever, but I'm eating fish.
I got a turkey fryer that I set out on my concrete patio, and then I've got a wok.
Yeah.
That I put the grease in, and that way all the smells outside. It makes it a lot better, because it does suck.
In the house.
You cook the fish, 3 days you're smelling that grease.
Yeah. So we used this was it this winter or the winter before? I think it was the winter before. We took a griddle, the Blackstone griddles, and just set our pans of oil on it out in the garage.
Really?
Heats that oil up plenty fine, and then you just
never thought of that.
You can do it right there, and like I said, your mess is easy.
Yeah.
Everything's easy. You just clean it up. It's out in the garage. Doesn't matter.
That's cool.
Put a little heater. Well, my garage is heated, but we were doing it at a buddy's house. We just put a little propane heater out there, and we sat out there and cooked the fish and brought it in.
Beer?
Yeah, drank a lot of beer, cooked a little fish. It worked out perfect.
Not a bad day.
No, it's a perfect day. I mean, anytime you can have beer and fish, no matter if it's beer while you're fishing or eating fish or cooking fish.
It just kind of goes hand in hand.
It does.
I mean,
that's why Busch Light put it on their cans. It's genius.
And that's the worst part about guide tripping is, for insurance reasons, can't have alcohol.
Right.
And that's just, it feels weird to me.
Oh,
it really does. And it's not like I go out and get hammered, because I
Right.
still want to be the best of my ability to land these big fish.
Right.
So I consume in moderation, but when moderation is 0, it just feels off
Well, yeah,
a little
I
bit.
We've all done it, you know, you grab the pole, go out to fish, you sit there and fish about an hour and you're like, I need a beer, and I'm bringing beer. And, you know, it just doesn't feel
Yeah,
right.
it doesn't.
So, yeah, that's the advantage to having kids with you when you fish, because it's a disadvantage because you really don't get a fish because you're fixing their stuff all the time.
Yeah.
But you do get to sit and hold your beer until they bring you their rat's nest of a pole and you have to fix it. And
Take the fish off, rebait.
you need that beer to keep your nerves calm from not just snapping the pole, throwing it in the back of the truck and
We're
going
going
home.
Yeah, there's been a lot of farm pond visits that almost ended that way. Right, this is the 18th time. We're done.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you a story. My 3 boys are bang, 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 you know. There's a year in between them each, and we have a camper, and we used to take them camping a lot when they were little, and them kids would get up at the sun up because then they could start fishing again right away.
Yeah.
You know? Well, me and Mom didn't want to really get up that early, so
We're to relax a little bit.
we're like, you guys go ahead and go out and fish. We'd always be right by the water, and
Yeah.
I felt safe and secure with my boys. They'd been raised around it. They knew to stay out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we maybe laid in there for a couple hours and had a window open so we could hear them talking and whatever. And pretty soon I started getting this, I don't know, this feeling like something's not, like I hear them in my tackle box a lot. And so I get up and get dressed. And
I know what's in there.
Yeah.
I'm getting up.
I go out there and I'm like, what are you doing? Like my tackle box is almost bare. And they would have been maybe, 7, 6, and 5, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, Dad, there is a big fish right out there and it keeps breaking our line. And I'm like,
That tree looks
That
like
tree?
a Christmas tree. Yeah.
well, no, it was in the water. So they thought this fish was biting one because they were throwing cast and reel stuff. And
Yeah.
This fish had biting, been their pole and snapped their line. I bet there's $500 worth of lures out there underwater. And I'm like, that is not a fish. That's a tree.
He
Grow
hits it in the
up.
same spot every single time.
And them 3 just kept casting that same spot and losing my shit. And I'm like, oh my God. So now that they're adults when we go fishing, I just get in their tackle box and
That's
I
right.
break something. I'm
That's
like,
right.
you guys owe me at least $1,000 worth of fishing lures, so.
That's the best part about Garrett. Now that he's grown up, he has more fish and shit than I do.
Well, yeah, that's why I invite him fishing with me, so I can get some of my shit back. When they ain't looking, I'm just moving it from tackle box to
That's
tackle
right.
box.
Remember that hula pop he threw up in that tree?
Yeah.
This one's mine.
Exactly. But they still pull well, isn't that mine, Dad? No.
No.
I just bought this last week.
Yeah.
You've been out of the house for 4 years. It is not yours.
There is nothing that I own that is yours ever again.
Right. Just get away from my stuff. I wear it on me like a backpack. I don't let them get anywhere close to it.
Got a lock and key on it.
Yeah. And how many of my poles they broke.
Yeah.
The camper killed a lot of poles because we'd be getting ready to go and I'd be like, put your poles away. So there's a side compartment where all the poles went. And I remember the sound. I could still, if I hear it happen, I know a pole just got broke out. They'd stick it in there and then slam that door. And that pole would be sticking out, 3
Yeah.
inches. There goes the tip.
Yeah.
Snap.
It's now from a medium light to a medium.
Yeah. And
Because you're still using it.
yeah,
I
for
don't
years
care.
I just cut it off and, file it down and say, there, it's not going to cast worth of shit, but that's your pole now.
Yeah, that's right. It's got your name all over it.
Jeez. It's miserable.
Pretty soon they turn into ice fishing rods.
Yeah. So that's another thing they like to steal a lot of. Well, isn't that my ice fishing rod? No. When you moved out, I gave them to you. Those are mine.
Yeah, you've never once bought an ice fishing rod. You don't own shit.
Yeah, technically, yours that you claim are mine.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. God. Yeah, I could have had a lot of nice shit.
Yeah, I know. Thinking back all the cool shit I had. One of my favorite stories, I had this nice ultralight reel. It was my crappie go-to. Like anytime I was crappie fishing, that was it. It wasn't anything fancy, but I loved the way it worked and it was dependable. So spring comes around and I'm looking for my crappie rod. I'm like, where the hell? This is where every rod I own is. it's not here. Go digging around, can't find it. I asked Garrett, where's that crappie rod? It's like, oh.
Oh.
Well, my birthday's in March, and he got this great idea that he was gonna customize my crappie rod. Like he was going to paint it up and you know, whatever his idea of making it better was.
Yeah.
And he's like, when I got halfway through, I realized I ruined it, so I hit it. Like, well, now I can stop looking.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. At least tell me when you my shit up, because then I don't have to look all over for where you hit it.
It was like a month later, because my birthday's in March. It was April, May, starting to, you know, get my shit together. And he's like, yeah, that was my bad.
Oh yeah, been there.
I was going to customize that. He was probably 8 or 9, you know.
Yeah, it was innocent.
But he knew enough once he did it. He's like, yeah, I just ruined my dad's favorite rod. And he felt worse than I did. I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I've still got it out there somewhere. But and he's right. It was bad.
He ruined it. You know, I had, and this is gonna sound silly, but I had my rod I'd had for ever, right? And it had, I don't know, probably 10 different reels on it, but that rod was mine. I love that rod, the action of it, everything of it. So it's been a couple of years ago, we were out fishing with it, and every time I hook something, the line would break. And I'm like, this line's not that old.
Yeah.
You know? Well, the eyelet, the top eyelet had wore so thin, it turned it into like a razor blade. I'm like, oh, shit. I lost like 10 fish before I figured that out. I keep pulling a line out, retie.
This line sucks.
Yeah. Come on. And then, you know, I finally noticed and I pulled it back and it did. It was almost like a razor blade.
Yeah.
It just worn so thin.
A lot of our rods that we use now have stainless guides and stuff, but most of them had those plastic inserts inside of it that used to wear, and then they'd pop out, and then, like you said, you're just fishing on razor blades.
Yeah.
Just a matter of time.
I was sad when I had to throw that in the dumpster, but it made me mad enough that day that I went in the dumpster.
Cost me 10 fish, you gotta get home.
Yeah, you're done. It's like a gun that doesn't go off when you're deer hunting. It's done.
That's right. There's no coming back from that.
No.
When is your annual trip? Like you go on a bigger walleye trip?
Yeah, we go in August.
August?
Yeah, go up to South Dakota, Chamberlain, go out there. You know, it's like last few times it's been just cooling off. You know, it's still nice.
Yeah.
You know, during the middle of the day, you're down to your t-shirt and shorts, and by the end of the day, you're back in a sweatshirt. And
that's some of my favorite days.
I mean,
when you start up with layers and you peel them down, put them back on.
Yeah, and I look forward to that. That's a blast. You know, actually, I had the opportunity this year. I was going to tell you about this, and it just reminded me when you asked me that. So we went down to see my wife's sister lives in New Mexico, around Alamogordo. So one
of the 12.
Yeah. The first one down from her, but it's down by the White Sands, and it's a really unique area, I guess you'd say. You know, and not a lot of water around down there, so I wasn't thinking I was going to go fishing or nothing like that. You know, they're
out in the whole way.
Yeah, they're in the heat of the desert.
I've got time off, and I can't even go fishing.
And my niece, who comes back and stays with me every summer, she's 20, and so I get down there, and our first day we go up in the mountains and whatever, and I'm like, God, Keely, I got the itch to fish. You know, it's 80 degrees here. I can't believe we ain't fishing. And their neighbor, actually, like I said, they live in the desert. There's no vegetation. It's hot. They're only 30 miles off the border.
Oh wow!
So they're down there.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, actually, our neighbor built a pond in his backyard. And I'm like, what?
Talk about a headstrong son of a bitch.
So he did. He dug this hole out in this desert. And I guess it took him all kinds of equipment and whatever to get it done. And then he put a rubber liner bladder in it. And then he dug a well to feed that pond. And then he stocked that pond. Well, because it gets so hot down there, they actually stock their ponds with larger fish and like February or January, February, somewhere in there.
When it's normal conditions.
Right. And then
it's only 72.
They have to all be fished out by the end of April or 1st of May because it gets too hot.
Boils. Yeah.
So she's like, I think they're probably ready to fish. You want me to ask him? I'm like, yeah. Duh. Yeah. So she goes and asks him. He's like, oh yeah, go out there and have a good time. They stock with trout because they can buy them bigger, and then they're good to eat, and they legitimately know how many they put in, and they make sure they fish them all out.
Catch them out.
Yeah, and then they also put bluegill in there, but the bluegill can survive.
Really?
Yeah, they it's like, that pond's like 20 foot deep, and trout won't go to the bottom, but bluegill will. So the bluegill can survive, but this guy says, we've never caught one. I put 20 of them in there, and I've never caught one. So I don't know if the trout ate them all or what, you know? I'm like, all right, so we're out there.
saying no.
Yeah, so we're out there fishing, and those trout, the minute that lure hits the top of the water, just slam.
They're just pet fish.
Yeah, because that's how he feeds them. He throws the floating food out on top of the water, and they eat it. So we're having a blast. Like, there's like 70 trout in here, and we're just banging them.
You've named all every single one of them.
I mean, it's just a riot. We're just catching these, and he's like, well, I always feed them on schedule. It's probably going to mess up your fishing, but I want to feed them. I'm like, I don't give a shit. We're having a blast. This is your place. Yeah. So he throws the food out there, and it's like that thing comes alive. I mean, it's
just erupts.
You know, them old movies where the piranha eat people, it's just a boil. That's what that was. And so it kind of all calmed down, and we started casting again, and nothing's hitting.
There's stuff.
There's stuff full.
Thanksgiving dinner's over.
So I put on Iowa boy, I put on the white Mr. Twister, right? Because I got to get to the bottom.
Catch anything.
I caught a 3-pound bluegill.
Holy crap.
It was unreal. Like, when it hooked.
That has to be the Arizona State record.
Yeah. Well, it
has to be.
It doesn't count because it's in the controlled. Nothing that's in their controlled ponds can count for a record down there.
Really?
Yeah. Same as their hunting ranches.
Oh, the high fence stuff?
You know, it's the same thing. So I catch this, and Kaylee's on the phone to him because his house is probably 100 yards away, you know. You gotta get out here and see this. And I show it to him, and he's like, I'm taking that in the house. I have supper tonight. So he just takes this big old bluegill from me and takes it, plays it right up. And he's like, so there's at least one that survived. I'm like, well, for now. I mean, that was,
How many more you want?
Yeah. I'm like, that's how you catch them. You got to feed your trout and then go to the bottom.
Yeah.
So my niece has messaged me since then and said they've caught a few more doing it that way. Wait until they feed the trout and then just go to the bottom, and the bluegills will hit it. And so, yeah, it was a real strange but real fun, experience because you knew you were going to catch something.
Yeah.
And
you're fishing literally in a barrel.
Yeah, I've never caught a trout. I can't say that now. Yeah. But those things fight like crazy. I mean,
really?
Oh,
everyone I've caught hasn't really.
Well, that's what
done anything.
I had heard from friends of mine that catch them up here. They're just like, they just kind of tow in like a tugboat.
Yeah.
Not these down there.
Really?
They were, and I don't know, it's because the water's so warm.
They were amped.
Yeah, they were. Plus it was feed
living
time.
Their best life.
I mean, it was a lot of fun, but
that would be
everything down there where they live. There's very few natural animals, I guess you'd say. Everything's been brought in.
Freaking hot.
Yeah, so all the animals they hunt, my brother-in-law, ex-military, he does that a lot now because he's retired from the military, so he's got time. But like Oryx and I can't even remember the name of all these different goats, but they're all brought in from Afghanistan because it's the same climate, same mountainous, hot. So we got to go out and see those, which was really cool. I mean, some of these goats, they're standing on a rock face that's vertical where it doesn't look like there's any way, and they go right up it. It's crazy. Just like
that is nuts.
It's like a squirrel up a tree. They just go right up it.
It's unbelievable.
And I asked him, I said, how do you hunt them? He goes, well, last year we shot one that took us 2 days to get to.
It fell that far.
Yeah, and we had to rappel, and I said, was the meat any good? He goes, oh yeah, because it was winter time and it was up in the mountains, so it was cold. You know? But he said he said the retrieval of the meat is way harder than the actual hunting.
Than actually killing one.
Yeah, and he said like the elk, you got to go way up to get to the elk, and you got to go way up. He said that's why everybody down here hunts Oryx, and because they like the desert, they like So everybody hunts Oryx down there because
What's an Oryx?
So an Oryx, the easiest way to explain it, it's got long pronghorns, real long, tall pronghorns, and they got a black-white face, and they got like a tail like a horse, and they're kind of shaped like a horse. Yeah.
You're eating a horse.
Kind of. But I'll tell you what.
But it's an African horse.
If that's what a horse tastes like, then I think we should start eating more.
You've had some.
Oh, that Oryx was amazing.
Really?
He had, you know.
Was it like a real red meat?
Super red.
Really?
Like, I mean, more red than any beef I'd ever seen. Darker than elk meat.
Really?
Almost salmon-like colored. You know that salmon meat?
Yeah.
It's almost what it's like, but it's marbled like a steak. And
Really?
yeah, it's absolutely amazing. I would eat it, and I don't say this too often, but I'd eat it over a ribeye steak. I mean, it was that good.
We're going Oryx hunting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is that good. He's supposed to bring me some back when they're coming back in June, and he's going to ice pack some to bring back.
And they're all high fenced, or there's
No, these are all open range that he hunts. He hunts
Really?
open range. Him and his buddy owns a guide service. And
Yeah.
Brandon, being ex-military, is a great second for a guide because the guy can stay out in the wilderness forever. He can
Yeah.
scale mountains and rappel and stuff. So Brandon goes with him a lot and is the second to help retrieve meat and all that stuff. And so they hunt all public out there, which there's coming from Iowa. When we think of public ground, we think of a 10-acre patch that nobody could farm, and so they finally gave it to the government. Out there, it's thousands and thousands of acres.
But most of it's sand.
Sand.
Yeah.
And so you get high enough,
Yeah.
and then you get into the big pines and stuff up in the mountains. But they hunt bear there. They hunt. I mean, that's the crazy part. When you think New Mexico, you think, what am I going to go there and hunt?
Coyote.
Yeah.
Bobcat.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, that's what I kind of
But
think.
they hunt the elk, bear, wild hog, javelinas,
Yeah, I can see that.
Oryx, and then
The elk is what, that must be way up.
way up. So
Yeah.
we went out elk shed hunting while we were there because that was the time of year.
Yeah.
And we started at 7,000 feet.
Did you find it?
We didn't that day.
Yeah.
The day we flew out, my niece and my brother-in-law went back out that day, and they went up to like 10,000 feet, and they found like 4 or 5.
And that's where they were,
Right.
at that time of the year,
Yes,
that's where they were.
They were up in that. And me, like, because I'm a flatland Iowa person, we did about 4 miles at 7,000 feet. I thought I was maybe going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, done.
I mean,
Yeah.
for them, it was no big deal. And that's why they didn't want to go any higher with us there, because they're like, you're going to feel like crap.
Yeah.
You don't want to,
And that's why, fighters and stuff train at altitude. Because
Yeah.
you come back down and I think it's a white, literally it's a red blood cell count. Like if you train at that higher altitude, your body produces more red blood cells, which carries the oxygen.
Yeah.
So you come down, it's like you're supersized. you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, yeah, I was exhausted. Like, we walked, I don't know, for a while. I think we were at 1.25 miles, and my brother-in-law was like, "You want to sit down and take a break?" I'm like, "Yeah." Yeah.
About 3/4 of a mile ago.
My feet weigh 4,000 pounds apiece right now. I don't know why, but yeah. So we sat down, kind of caught up, and then
And you're always on the go.
Yeah.
You don't sit much.
No, I'm a big guy, but I can go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get up there, and woof, that's just a whole different ballgame.
And I've heard that. I've never experienced it
Oh.
a whole lot because I like muddy river bottoms
Yeah.
more than mountaintops.
Well, I
But-
can tell you, it's a whole different feeling. Like I can remember, like your head feels a little light, but you don't feel dizzy. You just,
Yeah.
it's just a different feel.
And what I've been explained is it's because of less gravity the further away from Earth that you get. So instead of your oxygen molecules being this close, they're this close.
Okay.
So every time you breathe in, you get less of those oxygen molecules for your blood to absorb. So
Yeah. You just don't get it.
you're choking out slowly.
Yeah. I was. And then my niece and my brother-in-law, they're just like plowing through, and I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa. This guy back here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to hold on to your backpack. You
Yeah.
can drag me for a while.
Yeah, and it's not real stable terrain. It's pretty
No.
rocky, so you had to be sure-footed. You know, because the elk, they like to traverse the sides of the mountains. So once you got, you know, we get to a plateau or a flat spot where there's a meadow and whatever. And he's like, they've been out in here, but that's not where you're going to find their sheds. You know, you got to go where the trees are going to knock them off and things like that.
Yeah.
But you go down that hillside and it's not friendly to walk on.
You just gotta slide till you stop. Yeah.
You know, and trying to be careful because I don't want to end up at the bottom because there ain't no way I'm hiking back out. You're going to have to bring a helicopter in or something.
I'm here when you need me.
I mean, mountain lions are going to eat me or you're going to fly me out and I'm not walking out.
And I'm okay with either at this point.
Yeah. You know, and got to see, I thought what was cool is the turkeys were up in the mountains.
Really?
Yeah. So they're a little different looking turkey than what we have here.
Yeah, there's like 3 major strands.
Yeah, it's a little different, a little more golden, not quite as dark, and they're shaped a little different, I guess you'd say. I mean,
size-wise, comparable.
Comparable, they just have a different look and a different color, and so we got to see some of it. They're up at 7,000 feet. And,
wow.
You know,
they could fly forever up there.
Well, yeah, yeah.
They're like eagles soaring.
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy, but yeah, we got to see those, so that was cool. And we got to see a herd of Oryx, which, like I said,
looks like a bunch of painted horses.
Yeah, the best way to explain it would be you cross a horse with a cow and put a goat's head on it.
How big are they?
They're huge.
Really?
Yeah, they're huge. I mean, you know, it's hard to explain, but like,
it just got this little head.
It's a little, yeah. The head's not very big. I mean, it's...
You look at it, there's no way you're delicious.
Yeah. No, like, when he told me he was going to cook Oryx that night, and I now know what they look like, I'm like, we're going to have to go to McDonald's.
Have a hot dog or something.
And, you know, then I saw the meat he was prepping. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, and then he cooked it, and the smell was... So here's the thing out there. The only thing those Oryx have to eat is sagebrush. So...
Yeah.
Honest to God, when he was cooking it, you could smell the sage, and so they're seasoned internally. Yeah, and so I got to talking more about it with him, and he said, "Yeah, actually, that's why the guys like to wait till the elk come clear down for a month or so because they get to eat in that sage
internal marinade,
and their meat has that smell to it."
No shit.
Yeah. So then I get back to Iowa, and we go over one of my dad's favorite places to eat.
And you plant sage behind your
Yeah, I need to go plant it out where I hunt deer, but one of my dad's favorite places to eat over in Carroll's a meat market over there, Board and Arrow.
Yes, yeah, he was from Jefferson.
Yeah.
Tommy.
Yeah. Well, he feeds his own animals for his own meat market.
Really?
Yeah, and
I didn't know that.
He's telling us that they figured out they now feed their animals sage because it does come through the meat. And I'm like, yeah, when you go to New Mexico, I mean, when you cook this, you can smell the sage. He said, yeah, it actually works that way.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, it's got the natural sage in it that you can taste and smell.
Yeah.
And it really is amazing.
I've never even heard of that animal before.
I didn't either.
So that's cool.
I honest to God, the only time I'd ever seen him before that, and I couldn't put 2 and 2 together until I saw him down there, was on some National Geographic thing about over in Africa or whatever.
And originally they just got shipped there.
Yeah,
right?
So what happened was in New Mexico is they were trying to build this is my brother-in-law telling me this, they were trying to build a tourist, there's not much in New Mexico if you've ever been there.
Do you like rocks?
Yeah. And so they started
We got rocks.
bringing in all these different animals that they knew would thrive in that from overseas.
Yeah.
And now they've got one of the largest,
natural
populations and guiding services for people to come down there and hunt.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. I think he said the only natural animals, the elk have always been there. The bears have always been there. But then outside of that, and javelinas, but outside of that, for meat purposes, there wasn't a lot there until they did all this.
Yeah.
So it's brought in a lot.
You know, they eat so many iguanas.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he's been on one of them hunts too.
Really?
He's lived everywhere, and they lived in Florida, and they're a big problem there.
Oh yes.
And
you can make a bounty off of them.
Yeah, they actually use air rifle 22s there.
Yep.
And he said it's an absolute blast. And he said,
I bet.
So then I asked,
I would love it.
how'd it taste? And he's like chicken. No, everything tastes like
Yeah.
chicken. But he said, honestly, it tastes like chicken.
Yeah.
But yeah, they take the tails in, so they shoot them. You lock the tail off, and then you take the critter home and fillet it and whatever, and then you take the tails in and get paid for the tail. It's like,
That's a
it's
win-win. You had a blast.
Yeah.
You have a meal. You get paid.
He said if you have a good day, you can actually pay for the boat rent with the tails, and then you get your meat.
That's cool.
So yeah, like I said, he's hunted and fished everywhere just by being stationed. You know, he's been in Alaska, he's been
Yeah.
Florida, New Mexico, Arizona, Korea. I mean, he's been everywhere.
And what cool stories.
Yeah.
You know, every single one. There's going to be shitty parts of everywhere you go.
Yeah.
But you got those cool memories that you can
Yeah.
step.
And we've been fortunate enough most every time, we didn't go to Korea, but
Yeah.
most every time they moved, we'd go there and I'd get to do something outdoorsy with him because he loves it and I love it. So, you know, we'd go do it and, you know, deep sea fished in Florida and got to go, you know, hike the mountains and look for horns and other critters down there. It's just been really
That's cool.
fun.
Something out of your ordinary that,
Yeah.
you know, like you said, you're on vacation. You at least want a small portion of it to be something that you enjoy, what you're
Exactly.
into.
And he comes back here once a year for a week, and that's all we do when he's back. We hunt, we fish, you know. 'Cause
Sorry, honey.
Yeah,
I gotta
she
go.
knows.
Yeah.
She knows when Brandon comes back, I'm not going to be found.
That's
you
cool.
know, and it's always
That's awesome.
a different month of the year, so he's got to do a lot of stuff with us.
Well, I've got some guide trips open in August and September. So if he
Yeah,
is happen to be back,
Yeah.
we'll spend the night on the sand.
most definitely, because he loves it, and that's when he grew up in St. Louis,
Oh, okay.
and he
So
hasn't
he's
caught.
used to blue cat.
Yeah, but says he hasn't caught a catfish any size since he was a kid because Air Force, everywhere he's been from then, have been not conducive with catching large catfish.
Yeah.
So I told him that too when we were down there. I'm like, if you get back at the right time of year
Yeah,
and Ryan's got some time, we'll go.
absolutely. We'll
So-
fire the boat up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to meet the guy. It sounds
Yeah, he's a
right up
badass.
our alley.
Yeah. Well, he looks like it. You know, he did 22 years in the military. So clean shave, clean haircut. Now he looks like a mountain man. He's got a beard down to the
Awesome.
center of his stomach, you know,
Yeah.
longer hair.
Earned it.
Yeah, he loves it. I'm like, dude, I didn't even recognize you. I've known you for all these years, and you look like a mountain man. I mean, he's like, that's the way I like it.
Absolutely. In Arizona, that's got to suck. Or New Mexico. sorry.
Oh, yeah.
That's
why I
gotta
asked you
suck.
with that big beard. I'm like, dude,
It's
I'm
worth
over
it.
here sweating, and you got this big old. He's like, oh, I love it.
I'm making a statement. I
Yeah.
don't give a shit.
Yeah, and I give him shit all the time about it, and he just loves it.
That's mental toughness. That's
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah, he does some neat stuff down there. Like he bought an old Toyota 4Runner, 4-wheel drive,
Yeah,
and then bought a roof-mounted tent. Have you ever seen them?
I have.
And so that literally he'll just take off in that on a Monday and not come home till the next Monday. Out into the mountains hunting.
I'm out.
Yeah, just gone.
Peace.
Yeah.
I've seen that, and it reminds me of this older guy I knew that had one of those old Toyotas that
Mhm.
ran like 800,000 miles. And he had a topper on it, and he had a canoe on top. And that canoe was always frickin' on top. He had cut a hole in his topper and used the canoe like a storage unit.
Oh.
He had the top of the topper just fed his clothes and whatever he wanted to keep up there inside the canoe. It was weatherproof.
Yeah.
He was good to go.
Genius.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of Brandon. Like the back of the 4Runner, he's got the back seats folded down. He's got like totes in there for different hunting, you know, different clothes and different things. And then he's got his tent on top. And then he's got a lockable gun safe in there so he can keep his guns in there so when he's sleeping at night.
Doesn't have to worry
He
about
puts his
anything.
rifles in
Yep.
there. He's got a pistol with him because you're out where there's bears and mountain
Yep.
lions and stuff. But
They can climb.
yeah.
I don't care if you're on top.
Yeah. So that's the way he's got that all thing. That
That's
thing's
cool.
just set up for that. I think it's got like 400,000 miles on it, but he just fixes it, whatever needs fixed, and
Yeah.
that's his buggy
That's
to
my
go.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's got a trailer, he pulls his side by side on. So he'll go as far as he can get with that 4Runner.
Yeah,
and then unloads the side by side and goes as deep as he needs to.
as long as he can get back to camp.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd like to meet the dude. He sounds awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. When he's back, we'll get together. That's for sure. But yeah. And then another thing we do in the fall, which I'm gonna have to get you on. We have a mutual friend that has a lake,
Yeah. Yep.
and he does a lot of biology work on it, where he's got fisheries out there testing it, making sure everything's the way he wants it.
Because he's got an end goal.
Yeah,
He wants to.
He's got.
It started here. He wants to go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the fish biologist or whatever, I don't know what they're called, but
Mhm.
the smart fish guy said you need to get some catfish out here. There's too many catfish. Anyway, we fished a lot of catfish out of this pond for him
Yeah,
and ate them, and it was a lot of fun.
I bet.
We had the littles out there with us, and I mean, we fished till probably 2 in the morning, and then us dads had a belly full. So we set everybody in the tents, and we went to
Shut her
bed.
down.
And when we do that, we always put the littles. They have to crawl over you to get out of the tent, right? Like
Yes,
I sleep
absolutely.
in front of the
Yeah, I am the roadblock.
zipper right by my nose. Like you are not getting out of here. And it's not even what I would call light yet. It's just starting to get maybe kind of. And they're
you're
like,
getting trampled.
yeah, they're like, we don't want to go back there and catch more catfish. I'm like, oh my. So we open up the tent and crawl out on all fours and consider our lives and we just rig them up with some bobbers and worms, right? Just go have fun, throw it, go over by the dock and catch some whatever. I don't care if they're mosquitoes. Just leave
There's
them.
all kinds of species in that pond.
Yeah,
It's
and
amazing.
It was kind of crazy, and honestly, I'd never seen one before. And Bryce had known they were in there, but one of the little guys caught a yellow bass.
Yeah,
And,
I've got them in there, ice fishing.
Have you?
Yeah.
and that was really cool because
Yeah.
I'd never seen one. I mean, I'd seen pictures. I'd never caught one, seen one, handled one. So we caught that, and then it was like the morning of all species, right? So one of them caught that. Caught, of course, bluegills. You couldn't keep them off the hook, so they started
Yeah.
moving around. And then they caught a crappie, they caught a catfish, they caught
Huge crappie.
monster
Huge.
crappie. They're a blast. Caught a regular bass, and then they caught a sheep's head. Which,
Really?
yeah, he left. He's not invited to be there. He got out, but it was a huge sheep's head.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, that's right along the river. So every time the river floods, whatever's in the river comes right
Yeah.
in. And whatever's in the pond goes right in the river.
well, and Bryce asked me this, and I didn't have an answer, so he was going to ask his fisheries guy, but he wondered if any flatheads would be in there, and if they
Yeah.
would stay and sustain life in there. And I thought,
Yes.
why wouldn't they, right?
Yeah.
Like,
They would eat everything.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Because there's the...
I guarantee, because back when I was in high school age,
Yeah.
that was one of the best flathead spots in the river. It's changed now to where it's
Right.
not shallow, but that used to be over. I mean, we used to jump off a 15-foot cliff into the water. That used to be like 30 feet deep.
Really?
Yes.
So the reason he asked is because every once in a while, there's a narrow channel in there
Mm-hmm.
where they can go from the big
I've trapped
part.
a lot of beaver out of that channel.
Yeah. Bad. Where they go from the big part to the little part, right?
Mhm.
And every once in a while, and it always seems to be at nightfall, somebody will hook something there, and nobody that fishes that really fishes with real heavy gear,
No,
and it snaps lines at whatever, and he's
Yeah.
just wondering, is it possible?
I guarantee it.
And that's what I'm like.
Guarantee it.
Yeah, I mean, because honestly, what's a big channel in Iowa? Big channel cat.
10,
10, 12.
15 is huge, 20 is possible, but
Yeah.
almost unheard of.
Right, and
Yeah.
most of those guys fish out there, fish with braided bass line that's, 10 pounds, so it's really good to
Yeah,
20, 25, 30.
yeah.
And he said it snaps it like it's
Yeah.
nothing.
Can't stop it.
Yeah, and so that's why there's
It's either a big ass carp or a flathead.
yeah.
Because there's both in there, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, because we've caught some
Yeah.
big carp out
Yeah,
there.
I'm sure there's 30 pound carp.
Yeah, and then, well, actually, we were chasing one this spring. He was surfacing.
Yeah.
They kind of look like a shark, and it's there. They got that dorsal fin up in the air, and I'm like, it was me and a buddy of mine out there, and I'm like, oh my goodness, look at
Yeah.
that! So we're throwing in front of it, running along the shore. Couldn't get him to take
No,
anything.
hell
but
no.
yeah, he was a monster.
Yeah.
If I'd have had my bow with me, he'd have been on
Yeah,
shore.
I know I've seen 20+ pound carp out of there.
Yeah, there's big ones in there.
I've never caught one, but I've seen them.
But yeah,
But it would surprise me. Like, I would be shocked if there wasn't a flathead over 40 pounds in there.
that's what I wondered.
Just because it's that close to the river.
Well,
It's got that good a food source in it.
There's holes in there that are 30 foot deep.
Yes.
I mean, a good place for him to just lay around and then come out and feed.
He's got to do nothing but get bigger.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that's something I always thought would be cool going out there. It's just every night I go out there, I think I should just throw a big pole, big
I
bait.
would. The first thing when I go to any farm pond, the first thing I do is catch a bluegill, put it on a hook, cast it out. It doesn't matter if I'm there with the kids. It doesn't matter what my purpose is. Because whatever the biggest predators in that farm pond's going to eat that bluegill.
Yeah.
And I've caught, 6-7 pound bass. I've caught 10-pound channel cat. I've caught flathead.
Really?
Just whatever. You just throw it out there and leave it. Don't even think about it. Turn the clicker on. Let the bluegill swim.
That's what I'm going to have to do there. Because I've thought about that. I'm like, I just ought to just bail one out there. And I'm usually there for 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, like I said, if I go to that guy that lives right over there at his place, when it was the prime pond, that's the first thing I do. The first bluegill caught, that was bait. I just throw it out, and then me and the kids would just catch, and sooner or later, zzz, 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 zzz.
Oh, that'd be fun. Because there's some monster bass in that.
There was. Oh, yes.
Monster.
Yes. Monster bass, monster catfish. There's some big cats in there.
Big crappie. Yeah, the cats we caught that night ranged anywhere from, of course, you caught a few of the 1-2 pounders that you couldn't get off the line. You know? But we were using some big baits and floating them under lit bobbers. Mm-hmm. And we were catching some 7 and 8 pounders. Yeah. And they were a blast.
When the guy that he bought it from used to own it, that was my spring spot. I'd go there in the spring and just hammer 7 to 12 pound channel cat.
Yeah,
it was so much fun.
We're gonna have to do that here this spring because he needs more taken out.
All right.
Yeah.
Damn it.
And then I just tell him we took X amount out of there, and he's like, okay, and he keeps a tally, and he kind of knows where he needs to be, and now the crappie are getting enough of
back to where they used
he's
to be.
Wanting us to keep anything under 10 inches out of there.
There was a time where if you sat up on the west side, right on that tree, you could hammer a dozen over 15 inches.
Yeah. Well, I caught a 17-incher out of there last year.
Yeah. I've got some pictures of Garrett with 17s, 18s.
Which is unbelievable. Yeah. And then a slew of 12 to 14s.
Yeah. But that used to be the most common thing to catch. You wouldn't catch little ones.
Really? And
then some guys went in there with 5-gallon buckets and they took out hundreds.
I can believe
it. 14-inch crappie.
Well, he wants anything. He told me to keep anything under 10. Yeah. Trying to get.
That's the only way you can do it. You got to start over.
And he's doing here in the next. I think he said in the next month the biologist will be back, and then he'll tell us what bass
you screwed up.
Yeah. He'll tell us what bass to keep.
So they're gonna shock it? Is that what they do?
That's what they do. They bring that boat out and
that's awesome.
They turn them, and any carp goes in the boat, doesn't get to come back out. Sheepshead carp.
Which is, you gotta have something in there to eat the algae and stuff.
They agree, but they say shocking it, you'll never
get the vast majority.
So
you're thinning the herd.
Yep.
Okay.
Because the way I take it, them carp reproduce like crazy.
Crazy. Yes.
So that when they shock the carp, they just come out, and then
they have a lot more knowledge than I do.
Yeah. And then they take account of. And I don't know it all. Like have you seen those shock boats?
I really haven't.
It's got like this big net that goes down, and then they shock, and then the net comes back up, and it's a certain area around that boat, right? That only gets shocked, and that net kind of whatever starts to float up, and that net gets them, and it raises up, and then they count.
Really?
Yeah. And then they take out what they need taken out or whatever, and then lower it back down, and those fish come back to life. And
So it's just a small sample of the,
right, and they kind of do it in a grid,
yeah,
you know, and then they kind of got an idea what they got. But I know there's, let's see, we put 800 perch in there last fall.
wow.
So he's wanting to get the perch.
How many acres is that pond?
27.
27.
Yep.
So, yeah,
They figure though 25% life out of 800 perch.
I can see that.
Because
They're a bait fish.
They're bait fish,
Yeah.
and that's why they're trying to get the catfish under control.
Yeah.
Because.
And bass will eat them, you know,
Yeah.
any flathead will eat them, channel cat will eat them.
Yep. So they're trying to get the catfish under control. So as he's putting in the walleye, the perch, because he's put walleye in, he's put perch in.
Just trying to turn it over.
Yeah.
Transform it from what it is.
Yeah, he's got a good bass population.
Then that 100-year flood comes and all of his
all of his work's gone.
friggin' Raccoon River.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. He's like,
That
you know,
sucks.
he said, I know I'm gonna, because his main goal is that he had his first annual fishing tournament out there last year.
Yep.
Which was a good success. And all this is in memory of his son.
Yes.
That died from brain cancer. And his goal is to have it to where he can bring Make-A-Wish kids there, things like that.
Just have them have a blast.
Have a blast,
Yep.
you know. And so I try and help, you know. It's hard work, but I gotta go fish when he needs stuff fished.
Anytime he calls me, I'm there. You know, if he
Yeah.
needs beaver gone, if he needs otter gone, whatever he
Yeah.
needs, I'm there.
Yeah, and you know,
He's a good dude.
he's
He
a
really
great
is.
dude, and I've got a lot of equipment, so he'll call and, hey, do you think you know,
Yeah.
we'll come get it, you know, knock it out. And we did a lot of mowing out there last year to get it ready for the fishing tournament. And
Yeah.
there's more that needs done. It's just kind of sketch because some of that's a little bit steep.
And you have like professional, like
Yeah.
you can't introduce certain weeds
Right.
into your equipment 'cause
Right,
the next day you're taking them on your
right.
normal route.
Exactly. So that's a whole clean out sterilization when you go out there and come back. And like for him, I do it. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. The first time I went out there and he was mowing that, he went and bought a residential mower and was going through stuff that was taller than me standing. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? He's like, I gotta get it mowed down. I'm like, there is better ways.
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire is a better way.
Fireworks. I've got skid loaders that we can put a brush cutter on the front.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do a lot of stuff.
Instead of
Buying a
Wincing at the
$5,000
sound,
mower
yeah.
and watching you wad it up. I mean, which I love the guy, but if you ever want to see an anvil get destroyed, hand him a feather, because that guy can break anything.
forehead first, right through it.
Yeah, I mean he can break anything. But you know, it's a beautiful place that he's taken great pride in.
Yes.
Him and his family, and you know his sister and his dad, in memory of
Lake Landon.
Lake Landon, and it's just awesome. I think it's amazing what he's done out there.
It is.
And
what it means. You
Yeah.
know,
and wanting to give to other kids.
going through something like that, I could not imagine. But him putting his heart into a thing that will make other people's lives better,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
it is awesome. you
That
know.
is awesome.
And it's all their money they're putting into it.
Yeah.
I mean, like the prizes last year was all their money, and it's all just because he wants kids to be able to come out and have a good time.
Yeah.
And it's really awesome. It's really unbelievable what he's doing for the future.
Yes.
You know, and so it's a lot of fun going out there. I hope the river never floods into it again. But you know,
Sooner
it
or
will.
later it's gonna, and then.
But I guess we'll have to go catch carp
Yeah.
and flathead.
Damn it.
Again, I'll get my bow and we can do some carp fishing.
That's one thing I've never done.
You've
and
never
I
done it?
really-
Oh.
I want to. It looks
It's
awesome.
a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it years ago. It's been a long time since I've done it, but man, was it fun.
The other day it would have been perfect. Just
Yeah.
standing right on top of the bridge, probably 2-3 foot of water, and you could just see them. It's crystal clear.
My first one, I built myself on a recurve bow.
Really?
I was probably 14 years
I was
old.
gonna say, how old
Yeah.
you just did with what you
I
had?
did with what I had because I wanted to try it. All it was a clamp with, my grandpa had an old pulley. So I put the pulley on, clamped the pulley on, wrapped the line on it, tied it onto my arrow. You know, I drilled it. Back then I had wooden arrows.
Yeah.
Drilled a pinhole through it. Grandpa helped me do that. Tied it on. Went out there and started shooting them. And and then you'd have to hand pull them in, whatever. It's not like it is now. I mean, it's a whole different ballgame.
Well, that'd be more fun to me than reeling them in.
Yeah, and so you hand pull them in, and my grandpa was of the age, he's long past now. He's been gone since '09, but he came from he was the oldest of 11 kids.
Yeah.
And grew up in the Depression era and things like that.
They made it work.
Yeah, and he loved carp because that was easy for them to catch and eat. And so he'd smoke it, and it was good smoke.
I've heard that.
It was very
I've
good.
never had it. I've heard it.
He made it for me. We went and did it. I don't know. Like I said, I was 14 years old. He took me and a couple buddies, and we hit a pond that the guy knew was way overwhelmed with carp, and
He's like, get him.
Yeah, I don't know how many we brought home. A lot. I mean, a lot. And he smoked them all, and then the meat just kind of picks apart. Then you don't have to worry about the bone. Then
Yeah, it just kind of falls off.
and we sat there and ate it, and it was delicious. And I've never replicated it.
Yeah.
But
Bug Gun evidently does it awesome too.
Yeah.
Because I've never had it, but Brian and Bug talk about it, that we catch one and it's like, save that.
smoke it.
Yeah, it smokes it.
Yeah. So I mean, they are edible. It takes a little more work,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna have to try it. I've got a smoker, and
There's plenty out there.
Yeah. I just, like I said, I do it for fun, and it's always this time of year when I'm busy, so I don't really feel like cleaning fish and whatever,
Yeah.
but.
Well, tell me how many you want Friday, because I'm going. I'm going.
I don't need a back of a pickup full.
I'll just drop them off in your driveway.
Yeah, my dogs would be happy.
Yeah,
They'd
no
be
shit.
out there eating like crazy, or the coon.
Let's tell that story.
Oh, that was quite the night, we were fortunate enough to go out on a guided trip with Ryan. And
Yeah, my trapping partner Jay is one of you're a client of his.
Correct.
Through his business with your landscaping business. So Jay's perk is he takes some guys out on guide trips. They did a pheasant hunting trip this year. I think he's gonna try and do a blue cat trip with me in Kansas maybe
that'd be
this year. So last year your perk was a flathead trip.
Right, and so actually I was down not far from where we were going, so I met Dad and Ryan and Jay there, and we got there, and of course my dad used to fish quite a bit.
Did he?
Used to.
Yeah.
And through the years and other things, and busy and grandkid chasing and other hobbies, he got into
Race cars. Yeah.
and pulling trucks and different things like that. It kind of went by the wayside. So when this came up, he was all about it. He'd never caught a fish that probably weighed over 5 pounds.
Yeah. Which is common.
Yeah.
It really is.
And so
in our area.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And so he was excited. So we get down there and get on the boat and get to where we're going, get set up, and we're cooking our meals and whatever, and Dad's asking a lot of questions because of all of us there, he'd be the only one that never flathead fished.
Yeah.
And so the fish gets on, and Ryan set the hook for him and handed it to him. Dad starts reeling and fighting, and pretty soon his arm, he can't hardly reel anymore. He's fighting to reel, and I'm like, what's going on? And they get the fish.
How big is this
Yeah. They get the fish landed, and Dad goes to pick it up and can't.
Yeah.
His right arm, he can't pick anything up. So Ryan holds it up for him, and they get their picture taken, and Dad's stoked. I mean, this is the biggest fish he's caught in his life. He's 65 years old.
Yeah.
Highlight.
It was high 30s. I don't remember what the actual weight was.
37.
Yeah.
Nice fish, and for that time of year, it's probably a 45-pounder that had just shrunk down.
Mid-June, it'd have been a 45. For
Yeah.
sure.
I mean,
it was huge.
Nice big
Yeah.
flathead. So we get it returned to the water, and having a good time talking about it. It's time to lay down. We got the rods out, and what was it, about 3:30 when God woke us up
Yeah.
with a nice thunderstorm and
Yeah.
rain shower, so we hustle pack out of there, whatever, and we get out of there. Well, my daughter had a travel ball tournament, so I brought a change of clothes. I went and slept. I went to a truck stop, showered, put on my new clothes, and went and slept in my pickup at the parking lot of the ballpark.
Until she woke you up. Yeah.
And, a couple days goes by, and Dad, what, he's like, I don't know. I got no strength in it. It hurts, but the main thing is I got no strength. Of course, he don't want to go to the doctor. He don't go to doctors.
Yeah.
And finally, he got it. Like, you know, we got to figure this out. And actually ruptured his bicep tendon, the one that runs up through the shoulder joint.
Really?
And then in the back, there's an AC joint, which is kind of where your shoulder blade, collarbone, and everything come together. So it ruptured that one as well. When that bicep tendon let loose, it just broke.
But when he was reeling,
Yeah, when
he said
that's when it did.
Really?
But it was in a pull-up point. Like, he reeled down and went to pull up. So, you know, he flexed his bicep and she let go.
Just went.
Yeah, and so he goes to the doctor, finds it out, and they tell him, well, since you're 65, there's nothing we can do. And Dad's like, well, what if I was 40? Well, we tried, but at your age, we've had zero success. So,
like, I'm really a 40-year-old.
Yeah,
I'm 65 years old.
He's very active and very, you know, like I said, he works for me. He does everything we do and whatever.
He's the guys that him and his buddy would pull a motor out of a car back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, it still does. I mean, we still, you know, and it's just, he's maybe 145 pounds, but he's way stronger than his size.
Yeah, he's a bobcat.
Yeah,
He's literally a bobcat.
He's been working, he was on his own from the time he was 16, so he's been working manual labor for all these years, and really, it's taught him that he's not young anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and there's certain things he can't do now which really piss him off because that's just his mentality.
Yeah.
But so he said, all in one night I caught the fish I'd always wanted, and now I'll never be able to lift anything again. I'm like, well, I guess at least you're 65. He didn't have any, you know, but yeah, so he no longer, the main bicep connects up in the shoulder, and then you have a secondary that's smaller that connects to the head of the humerus. Yeah. So he still has that one, so it's not like there's no muscle there.
I've seen that one tear with a guy doing curls, and his whole bicep literally was sitting in the elbow.
Oh.
It looked amazing, and that guy screamed so freaking bad. So I'm glad it wasn't that one.
Yeah, so Dad, like when he flexes now, he's got this big lump down here, and then he's got a smaller one. He's got like a camel.
Really?
Because the interior one is down here, but the exterior one's up here.
It's still in its normal position.
So they basically said you got about 30% strength because the larger interior one is the one he tore. Yeah. So he's got about 30% strength from what normal would be for him, whatever that may be, you know. So, yeah.
That's nuts. Just that.
Yeah, just that.
Freak.
And the way they talked, it was probably from years and years and years of manual labor. Yeah. And finally, it was time.
That was the one thing.
It was going to happen the next day when we were working, or the next week. You know, it was bound to happen.
It was just that one thing.
It just so happened we were out there when it did. Yeah. And so he's sitting in his chair with this pain in his arm, but he never complained really, never said a word. No. You know, we
knew something happened.
You knew he was in pain, but he didn't say much.
Because I set him up a tent. Like the rest of us had cots with sleeping bags, but I set Jimmy up a tent, and he was in it for 25 minutes.
Yeah, I'm back out. He's like,
that's not going to work.
That's not going to work. I'm in pain. This is not going to happen. You know, of course, this is a man that has 3 discs dislocated in his neck from an accident. Yeah. 3 of the muscles that are in your neck are no longer attached from that same accident. You know, so he's pretty well tried killing himself multiple times. And so the flathead is what took him down. I mean, everything else is tried, vehicle accidents, all kinds of stuff, but the flathead took him out.
He won the battle. He did not win the war.
He did. He got the fish in, but then we let it go. So I think we almost should have ate it just because of it. We should have just ate it.
Or at least kept the head.
Yeah. So that was a fun trip. I tell anybody, if you got free time and looking for something to do, I would definitely go with Ryan on a flathead trip because the guy can cook. I mean, if nothing else, you're going to have a great meal. And you're going to have fun on the river. You're going to have a good chance of catching something you've always wanted to catch. And like I said, my dad had never done it. He got the opportunity to catch that. I could have taken him 100 times and not got him on one. Ryan took us out, got us on a good fish. Dad was able to catch it. I fully believe we got on more because we were having action, but then that storm rolled in. And
Yeah,
that ended our night.
it did.
That was a bad storm.
Yes.
Yeah. There was no, let's weather this. It was like, get
Yeah.
packed, let's go.
We were just kind of settling in, we enjoyed the night, we're gonna get some sleep, and all of a sudden, the hairs on the back of your neck stood up, and let's roll. Yeah.
That lightning was close. It was not cool. And then by the time we got everything loaded in vehicles and whatever, it was hammering.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I finished up the boat work soaking wet, but it was worth it.
It was a blast. Yeah, I would tell anybody, go for a trip with Ryan. You're not gonna regret it, and you're gonna have the time of your life, and chances are you're gonna get on a good fish. So
every time I go out, I want something over 20. Or else I wouldn't go out. If I don't think there's a fish over 20 pounds that I can catch that night, I'm not going.
Yeah, I mean, and you know where they are. You do a lot of scouting work ahead of time throughout. I mean, you fish a lot, so you know where to go.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I've got some guys I talk with, like Spencer. We communicate quite regularly.
Right.
So we've kind of got a network going that this is working. This is what I'm seeing. This is the pattern. This is the bait. So that definitely helps, having more than one situation.
Most guys that I shouldn't say most, but a lot of guys that I've known for years that fish their rivers, they have that one spot they always go to.
That's where I was growing up. That's where I was taught.
That's where the fish are.
Yep.
Going there,
And sometimes that's exactly where the fish are.
Yep, sometimes.
Yep.
But that's the beauty part of having a guide is they know, I've already tried that 6 times. There's not a fish there.
Or this situation, there's water rising, there's water falling, there's this barometric pressure. This has happened thousands of times in the past.
Yeah.
And this is what has worked in this condition.
Right. And instead of the old grandpa way where we're going down to the curve and then we're going to take our bluegill and we're going to sit there.
We're going to sit there and we might catch a 40, we might not catch a thing.
Yeah, it might
and
catch
still,
cold.
With all the knowledge I have and all the information from everybody around me, we still might not catch nothing.
Right. You're just increasing your chances, I would say, tenfold.
I would agree
because you're taking a lot of knowledge.
Knowledge is power.
Yep. And like I said, my nephew that we were talking about, he's got this one spot we always got to go. And we can go there 10 nights in a row and not catch a damn thing and hit on the 11th night. We're going back because I know there's a fish there, And that's just the only spot he's ever caught a fish in, so that's the secret.
And that's flathead fishing.
Yep.
That is flathead fishing that I grew up with in this area.
Yep.
Is I hit 3 spots. I had 3 flathead that I fished for 25 years.
Yep.
Yeah. And I caught a lot of big fish out of there. But it wasn't near as consistent as what I do now.
Right. And when you're taking, he's not little now per se. He's a 13-year-old now.
Yeah.
But when we first started taking him, we went to the easiest, flattest,
the biggest sandbar.
Sandbar because he's going to fish for about 12 minutes.
Yep.
And then he's going to be sick of it.
Now I want to build a castle.
Yeah, we need him somewhere to be that is safe so we can sit and drink our beer and actually fish.
Yeah.
And if we don't catch anything, it's not that big a deal.
Yep. We made a memory.
Yeah, he's out doing it. So that's how we started on this hole. And then we start catching stuff, and so now it's like, Uncle JJ, we going back to that spot. I'm like, it's not a secret spot no more.
Yeah.
He knows where it's at.
We already burnt all the firewood.
Yeah, that's no kidding. We now have to haul firewood there because we have burnt everything. It's like we need a flood because we got to get something there.
Bring us in.
But it's caused us to invest in things like electric chainsaws because they're way easier to carry in.
Yes.
To get some firewood and things like that.
You don't have to worry about sand in the carburetor.
Right.
Which is a real problem.
That's a real problem.
Yeah.
But you can still get sand in the chain and really gum it up. I found that out. That bar oil and sand is not a friend.
No.
When you give it to your 13-year-old nephew, you should explain that you shouldn't cut stuff in sand. Because he managed to lock it up.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you can get enough sand in there where she won't turn.
I can see that.
And I'm not sure it was him or if it was one of my boys that maybe had a little bit of alcohol and just wanted some more firewood. But the chain did not move. We had to tear it apart to get it back.
Yeah.
But Yeah, that's a lot of
It was
fun.
not returned as it was given.
No, and my boys show up after we've hauled all the stuff down there. And
Which his boys are strapping young men.
yeah,
Like,
they're big.
they could be mules.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Brandon's the most notorious for it. He's my middle son. He's 6 foot tall and about 285 pounds. He's not fat.
No.
He's a moose and
And headstrong.
headstrong. And he'll show up after everything's carried down. Like, oh, I had stuff to do. Yeah, and he carries one fishing pole down with
Yeah.
him and then looks for somebody else's chair as soon as they get up because nobody's going to get him out of the chair once he gets in it. And one night he did that and he gets down there and he reaches in my cooler and it's empty. So he goes to his uncle's cooler, it's empty. He goes to his other uncle's cooler and it's empty. And he says, well, what the hell? I said, well, we've been here all night. You show up later. He says, I'll be back. And you can hear him going through the timber. It sounds like a D9 cat, going back up through the timber. He doesn't look for the easiest path.
He makes
own.
it, yeah.
And pretty soon we hear him coming back. He's carrying a case under each arm. He says, we ain't going home till the sun comes up. And I'm like, oh boy. And we didn't.
We did not.
We did not. But yeah, when Brandon shows up, several things are going to happen. One, he's not going to show up till everything's carried in there. 2, if anybody brought snacks, they're not safe. And 3, if he didn't bring his own beer, you're not going to have many beers to drink that night. Because he's going to drink them
You gotta drink them all.
And you're not going to tell he had a thing to drink.
Consistency is key.
Yeah.
You know?
A big old boy like that, they can put down a 12-pack and not even... Man, he didn't even get up to pee yet. We're like, Brandon, get.
Yeah. Son of a...
Yeah. When we see him coming, everybody's hiding their coolers. Like, put it under your chair.
But the best part is you don't have to feed the boy every day anymore.
Not anymore, thank God. I tell you what, when they were senior, junior, and sophomore, they were all on the football team. They were all O-line, D-line. They were all big boys.
Yeah.
And my wife was a good cook. She was raised in a big family, so you make a big spread every night, right? And she'd make this huge spread, and my daughter would get pissed because the boys would eat their first and seconds before she'd get her first down. And they didn't care if she had any of whatever it was,
If they wanted it, they
It
were
was
taking
gone.
it. Yeah.
And so we had one of the nights where she'd made a huge batch of spaghetti and garlic bread and salads and whatever. I mean, they smoked it. Emma barely got any. And she's mad. I'm kind of mad because I couldn't eat as fast as Emma. I didn't get very much. So I take her to go get some ice cream, kind of calm her down.
Yeah.
And my wife and I are sitting in our chairs watching TV about 9:30 at night. And the 3 boys come back down the stairs and they go out into the kitchen, which wasn't uncommon.
No.
And it was football season, and so they required a lot. They were working hard. And pretty soon I hear the sizzle of meat in the pan. I said, oh, God, what are you doing? We're hungry. I'm like, well, at least you're eating meat, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're not eating
Oreos
crap,
or,
you know? They got 4 pounds of meat out and made 4 pounds of Madrax, and they ate it all.
Oh, geez.
Every bit of it. And I'm like,
Right.
and it became a normal occasion.
Yeah, like, look around. This will not be here very long.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to the poorhouse.
So it was kind of funny because when they were all home, we butchered a steer a year, which her dad raises, and we would buy it. He raises them huge,
Yeah.
They're 1,500 pound steers, so you're getting a lot of meat, and then we would get 2 hogs a year. So it'd take a steer and 2 hogs to feed our family.
Nothing in the freezer. Ever.
Nothing. It was always gone. Like, you got a hog, and you're like, okay, next time you're taking a hog, we could use one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the boys all move out. The 3 of them are out there on their own. It's just me and Teresa and my daughter, and we got a hog last year, and we're just about out of it. So them 3 boys that eat a beef and a whole hog a year, and that's no shit. I mean, that's just the facts of life. That's how they do it. And that's like, and my oldest boy, lives with his girlfriend who's pregnant, expecting.
Yes. Grandpa JJ.
Yeah, Grandpa. And she, every time they come over, we'll invite him over for supper. And she's like, do you know how much he eats? I'm like, yeah, I do.
I'm so glad it's your bill and not mine.
And then
Love the kid, but see ya.
Caleb, my youngest, is engaged to be married. They just bought a new farm. And she said, yeah, I know how much he eats. I'm fully aware. And Brandon just sits there and grins because he lives by himself and he can eat all he wants and ain't nobody bitching.
That's right.
But he does manage. He works for me. He manages to show up at my house like 2 nights a week to eat supper.
Well, I mean, I'm there anyway.
Right.
So
Last night he shows up and Mom's in the house and she's sitting there and she says, "Well, you know, his favorite meal is spaghetti." She says, "Well, you know, Brandon, I've got stuff to make spaghetti." He goes, "Well, I don't know what you're waiting for."
if I only knew how to make it myself,
So
I would have.
Mama made him spaghetti and he was happy. But that, you know, and
there goes the last 4 pounds of burger in the freezer.
My Bryce, him and his girlfriend, I'll give them a lot of credit. They eat, I would say, majority of their food is wild game.
Really?
That's how Sydney,
Yeah.
his girlfriend, was raised. They ate a lot of wild game.
That's awesome.
And so her dad's a big hunter. Sydney hunts. She hunts deer. So Bryce, out of all my boys, he's the one that's not a big hunter. He just never was, you know?
You either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in
He
you.
would come, when I'd shoot my deer, he'd come help me clean them, butcher them, whatever. He just didn't really like going out and doing it.
Yeah.
So it kind of surprised me, like when they got together and were living together, that now he's eating all this. And before, you know, at home, if I had deer steaks, or he's getting a ribeye, that deer steak saying, you know. But now they eat deer meat. Her dad goes bear hunting.
Yeah.
They eat bear.
I've tried bear. And
I can't eat bear.
It's horrible.
I can't eat bear.
Horrible.
She makes it. I guess I would say she hides it. You know, she uses it in the casseroles and
chilies and
things like that. And then the deer meat they eat very regularly. And you know, it just blows my mind that that's the kid that went that route. Like out of all of them.
Yeah.
And Brandon loves, like, unfortunately, when we butcher deer, the first one, the loins come out, they get butterflied, and they're on the grill.
That night.
Right there,
Absolutely.
while we're finishing.
Yeah.
And then the second deer, we do it again because he's ate the first deer, because he was in charge of cooking it. So the rest of us can have some.
It's a flawed system.
Yeah, very. Very. But he says it's because he's got to carry and drag all the deer out, which is fair because...
Well, it's easier for him.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you a funny story this year. So we take my brother-in-law, who was raised, had never hunted, had never fished, married my wife's youngest sister. So he gets in the family, and all of us in that family hunt and fish.
Yeah.
So he wants to learn. So we're like, we'll take you on mine.
We got you.
So he got a deer this year, and Brandon, that's his uncle. But you gotta understand, Marcus is not a big guy.
Yeah.
And so Marcus shoots this deer. He's never gutted one. He's never, you know, so my boys are taking care of their uncle. They're showing him how to do it. They're helping him out with it, you know, whatever. Well, where he shot it was in a deep ravine. And Brandon's like, he didn't want to gut it down there. It's kind of mucky and whatever. You want to get it up somewhere cleaner, whatever. So he tells Marcus, we got to drag this up the hill. And so Marcus, heave hoeing, and the rest of us are up on top, kind of giggling, right?
Yeah.
And Brandon has finally had his fill of watching his uncle struggle, and he hands Marcus his gun. He says, "Just hold this, son of a bitch." And he picks that deer up, puts it over his shoulder like a baby, and starts walking up the hill. And he carries this big doe all the way up the ravine, gets it up on top of the hill, and flomps it down. He's breathing pretty heavy now at this point. That's a big boy in a line.
Yeah. But he had a point to prove.
Yeah, and he gets it up there, and Marcus is kind of giggling, and he's like, I don't know, you're laughing at it, you're gutting it. So we got Marcus to gut it and whatever, and so it was time to hang him, because we always just carry him around in our pickups until...
Depending on temperature.
Yeah. If it's cold enough, end of the day, if the pickups ain't full, we keep throwing them in there, and then at night we'll go back and hang them and skin them and do everything you gotta do, you know? So we go back to hang them, and it's me and Marcus to go hang the first set because they were in my pickup and he was riding with me. And I've done it a lot, you know. So there's kind of a technique to it because we're hanging them in a barn. You got to get them up in the air. And so the way I've always done it, which I was spoiled, I had big boys. You know, we'd get the first leg tied, and I had them lift it, and I'd feed it through and pull, and tie the other leg off, you know.
Yeah.
I like the leg spread, so when it comes time to skin them,
Nice, neat.
yeah.
Yeah.
After 20 minutes of Marcus wrestling this deer, I wasn't sure if he was making
Not successful.
yeah, making love to it or hanging it. I said, okay, we're switching positions, and here's how I want it tied. And after another 10 minutes of me trying to hold this deer up in the air while he's making love to the holes in the legs, I drop it, and I said, okay, I'm calling my boys. So the boys
You're
come
a
over.
spectator at this point.
The boys come over and hung it, but God, it's so much fun teaching somebody their first time.
Yes.
No matter if they're 10 or 30.
Yes.
And so we've now introduced him to ice fishing, to regular fishing.
Where do they live? Close?
Yeah.
Oh.
He's only actually a mile south of me.
Oh, sweet.
But he's got a young family, so it's hard for him to get away. He's got 2 young boys. You know, Warren is 3 and Weston's 1. You know, so
Oh, yeah. So his hands are full.
his hands are
Yeah.
full. So we can only steal him every once in a while. Our mom would shoot him and us. Not that I'm
She's
scared.
feisty.
Not that
She's
I'm scared
feisty.
of her, but I don't want to see my brother-in-law die yet. And so it's a blast teaching him, you know, and I think that's the thing that so many people miss out on nowadays, outdoors-wise, is I would just as soon anymore. I've killed enough stuff hunting and caught enough fish in my life that if I died tomorrow, I could die a
I'm
happy
good.
man.
Yep.
But that thrill of a new person either shooting their first deer, pheasant, or catching their first fish is better to me than me catching one or shooting one.
I agree.
I mean,
I do agree. Yeah.
that lights me up. You know, we took my, Paul would have been 9, took him deer hunting this year.
Awesome.
And didn't get to carry a gun, just with us, you know. So
That's
he
how you
could
learn. Yes.
Well, it came to the last day, and we were going to be on a very safe spot. I was sitting a long ways away from the party in case any deer outwitted. I'd shot deer already. I'm like, I'll just go up there in case, and I'll
Yeah.
take Paul with me. So grabbed a little 20 gauge youth and took him up there, and this deer, this deer comes out, and she couldn't have stood more broadside, more perfectly.
Ta-da-da!
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, shoot.
Now's the time.
Shoot. And then I look down. He is squeezing it. I'm surprised he didn't bend the trigger. You got to take safety off.
Oh!
I'm like, whoa. Take your
hold
finger
on.
off. Let's just breathe. And so he takes his finger off, and I flip the safety, the thumb safety, the
Yeah.
Mossberg, you know. Flip that. And I'm like, oh, all right, now, boom! Gun goes off. He hit her.
Oh.
And I'm like, she's wounded, pump it. And of course, he doesn't get a full pump. Now we got a stovepipe. So I rip the gun out of his hand, and I rip that out of there, and you know, get it shucked. And I'm like, all right. And she's hit hard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, shoot again. I don't know how I hit her the first time because the second shot hit the dirt 10 yards away from us. I'm like, you know what? Let's just let her go. I think.
Yeah. I
think
she learned her lesson.
be all right. So she jumps a fence and goes down into the deepest ravine in the state of Iowa and dies at the bottom of it.
And then digs a little bit further
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
So his dad's down with the other guys, you know, and whatever. And he heard the gunshot out where we were, and he assumed I let him shoot at something running, and
Yeah.
it was just a, you know, learn,
hit and go.
learn lesson, you know.
Yep.
And he gets up there, and they got a few deer, and they got them loaded, and I wasn't walking. I mean, it was a good walk to where they were, so I was just waiting.
Yep.
And he gets up there, and he said, yeah, his dad's kind of out of breath. He did the push and then helped load deer and whatever, and walked all the way to us instead of walking out the end and getting in a pickup.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what'd you think, buddy? I said, he hit one. He's like, no, I didn't. Yeah, he did. And he's like, well, I don't see it. I said, I know where it's at. I heard her crash. So we go over there and pick up the blood trail right away. And I knew she went right into the nose of the draw. And
Clear to the
headed
bottom.
down. So we're trailing her, and Joe's like, she's losing a lot of blood.
Yeah.
And Joe's like, she's got to be here. I'm like, I knew.
She down.
Then we get all the way to the bottom, and he looks at Paul, and he goes, good job, buddy. But God damn it. You got to shoot them long.
You're grounded.
Yeah, you got to kill them before they get down there. So we got it down in there. Another buddy came down there and helped us gut her, and he had probably a peacock, 9-year-old boy, you know.
Yeah.
But by the time we got her back up out of that ravine, if you remember this deer season, it had snowed and then melted.
Yes.
So it was slick, it was miserable, it was, I mean, when I got to the top of that, I wasn't sure if I was going to die or not. It was terrible because every step you took, you lost ground.
Yeah.
You know, so we drag her and then hook her leg on a tree and kind of get our footing again and maybe go 3 more steps and then hook her leg on a tree.
Trying to pull a deer uphill on a treadmill.
Yeah, it was bad. So we get her to the top and we're like, we can get her to the road and then I'll pull my pickup closer. And Paul's he's hollering at everybody that drives by. It could be some old lady. He's telling me he got a deer. And that was a highlight.
Yes.
I mean, of all year, I shot two nice 8-point bucks last year. I can give a shit less about that.
Irrelevant.
It was that right there that made it the best hunting trip ever. So, you know, that's the thing anymore. It seems like a lost thing. Dads don't take the time. Grandpas, uncles don't take the time.
Yeah, well,
or there's not
things
the
are
time.
different.
Yeah.
Things are a lot different than when I grew up.
Yeah.
You know, my mom used to take me trapping and fishing and everything, and you know, Dad really wasn't an outdoorsman, but my mom came from an outdoors family. So I got to experience all that. Where now, there's not a lot of outdoors families. I mean, it's a minority.
It is. It's crazy, you know. As a kid, if you had a friend overnight, if you asked 9 out of 10 of them, if you said, what do you want to do? Fish.
Yeah.
You know?
Let's go out shoot BB guns.
Yeah.
Let's go, you know,
it wasn't even a question. You were going fishing, you were shooting pop cans with your BB gun, you were doing something like that.
Yes.
You know, and nowadays, fortunately I raised my kids that way, but I saw a lot of their friends where they just sit in front of a TV and...
Which, you raise your kids out in the country.
Yes.
You know, and I'm right on the edge of town and country, but when I grew up, it was country.
Right.
Like there wasn't, it wasn't, I didn't get to go to town much.
Right.
You know, I rode my bike to the creek to the north, I rode my bike to the creek to the west, or you remember there was a Pizza Hut right by the railroad tracks? There was a BMX track.
Yep.
I used to ride my bike to that almost every single day and I'd ride my bike to ride my bike.
To try and break your arm. Yeah.
So it was a good time.
Yeah. And
but that was my town living.
Oh, yeah. And I try to encourage, like, all my buddies, and I take a lot of my buddies' kids, because they don't even know how to fish, or I'm like, well, they want to go, I'll take them. I mean,
I'd love to. Yeah.
You know, and I'm super stoked I got a grandbaby on the way, because now I got to do it again, you know, with my own. And I just think it's a lost art, it's a lost...
And you know, Sid comes from an outdoors family.
Oh yeah, so she'll be ready to do it, and I always give Bryce a hard time because Sid goes deer hunting and Bryce doesn't. But you know, it's like, well, Sid, do you want to join our group?
Yeah,
Bryce can stay at home with the women. You know, like because of our group.
And we're talking about Bryce, who's a wrestling coach and just a stud of a male
college football player.
Yes,
like. You look at him and you think, man, and then
Sid's like 98 pounds, this petite
dancer. She was a dancer, you know, danced competitively all the way through high school, and
a great athlete.
Yeah,
but
just a complete backwards look. Yeah, I mean, you're like, he should be the one hunting, she should be home. Because when we go hunting, it's me and it's my family. So
which is the best part.
Yeah,
that's the best thing ever. 2
of my brother-in-laws and their kids, and my kids and me, so it's a big group because we come from a big family.
I was gonna say, but that makes like 82.
Yeah, but you know, that's like my thrill of my life is
first Saturday of December.
Yeah. Well, we go second season.
So
well, we used to go first season until we got all the littles, and then we thought,
let's spread it out.
We need a little time, maybe. You know, because we're trying to get them their deer.
Yeah.
You know, and it's more about them than us, and so. We do it that way, and
damn it, I gotta hunt 2 weekends in a row.
Right. Which I'll tell you, the older I get, it is kind of damn it. You know, I'm like, we could have been done last weekend. Yeah. Now I gotta
Brown is down. Let's go.
Again. Yeah. You know, it's kind of like our buddy Jay and Caleb.
Yeah.
You know, he gave Caleb his retired coonhound that. Oh, I'll never forget. Jay says, "Oh, she'll be good to go out and hide hunt. You know, 1 or 2 trees. He'll be tired."
Yeah.
But it'll work. Caleb went on.
Caleb was what? 12.
Caleb went on to win umpty 2 hunts with him.
Yeah.
And the state champion for youth.
Yes.
And I remember Jay, every time we win, he's like, don't know. He wouldn't do that for me.
Because that was Copper Dog, right?
Copper Dog, yeah.
Yeah.
And you'd hunted behind Copper,
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yes. And Copper had some bad habits because Jay got Copper from a buddy, and Jay kind of coached him up to a certain level. But Copper and your boy just kind of...
They meshed.
Because Jay was a grown man,
Yep.
had a million things to do. He hunted coon.
Yep.
Caleb was
A boy.
a boy who wanted a coon dog,
Yep.
and that coon dog wanted him.
Yeah, and he...
And they were a team.
Yeah, they loved each other. I mean, I'll never forget the night. It was the first annual Preston Luff Memorial.
Yes.
Preston was a young man that was out coon hunting, fell and hit his head, and passed away.
He had lost his dog,
Lost his dog.
didn't have a GPS collar on it, so climbed up in a tree to see if he could hear better or see
Yeah.
better, and then fell out of the tree.
Fell out of the tree and unfortunately passed.
Passed. Yes.
And so Caleb...
Doing what he loves.
Doing what he loves.
So-
Yeah.
Yes.
And so Caleb went to that hunt. It was a big money hunt because there was a lot of donors.
A lot of added
Yeah.
purse.
And
Yeah.
so Caleb goes over there. He's hunting against trapper dogs, which were the elite at that time. That was the male. That was the stud of a lot of the elite dogs.
Yeah.
And Caleb goes over there with old Copper Dog. He was 10 years old. His bloodline, nobody had heard of it for years and whatever. And Caleb wins the whole shebang at 12 years old against grown men.
Yes.
And when I called Jay and told him, Jay, I think he passed out and then responded to me because there's a long...
There was a pause.
There was a long pause in there. And...
love does amazing
It
things.
does, and
it
he
really
loved
does.
that dog, and no fault to Jay, and nothing to
It's
Caleb.
different.
It's different.
It's
Caleb was
different.
12. I can remember coming home, and coonhounds, for those of you that don't know, they're a kennel dog. Because if you
Yes.
let them out, they're going to follow their nose. They're going to be gone in
Yes.
30 seconds.
You're going to be chasing your dog more than you see him.
Yep.
Yes.
And I could come home, and Caleb would be laying out in the grass on a warm summer day with Copper Dog laying right up against him without a leash on him.
Yep.
Just laying there loving him, and he'd say, "Okay, Copper, we gotta go back to our pen," and Copper following him out to the pen. I mean,
Yeah.
we had multiple coonhounds after that. You could not do that.
They were gone.
They were gone.
Yeah.
They got free. Their noses was to the ground, and you're going to
Yeah.
the closest timber to
Yeah,
listen.
your
for 'em.
neighbor across the section knows your dog better than you do.
Right. Right. I mean, it was horrible, but that dog was just his buddy. They were buddies, and he was an old dog. You could tell by looking at him, he was an old
Yes.
dog. And he'd unload him at the coon hunt, and these guys would look over at him like, "What the hell?" And then he'd go out and kick their ass, and they'd be like, "What the hell?"
I hunted against that dog 8 years ago
Right.
when Jay had him.
And could beat him with
Yeah.
my eyes closed. So it was a really cool thing.
That was.
And
And Jay would call me, and he was so proud.
oh, he was
Jay,
so proud.
Jay was so happy about that, how that arrangement worked out.
The coolest thing, it was a sad day, but the coolest thing about that all is I was never a competitive coon hunter. I would go out with my uncle who hide hunted, so
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, but I didn't understand. Between Jay and Justin Thompson and Scott Kiner, they had coached Caleb how to competitively hunt.
Yes, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And I've been on several of them, and I still don't know the
Yeah,
nuances.
all
Yeah.
the ins and outs of it, but it was a pretty cold. It must have been like a February, March day, and because hide season was over, and that time of year, there's not a lot of. Or no, it was January. It was January hide season. It was the last day, so it was like the 18th.
Okay.
And Caleb says, "I want to take Copper out one more time. Before
Yeah.
we competitive hunt." I'm like, "All right." So we load up and head out to my brother-in-law's. He's got almost 400 acres of timber pasture. Beautiful place to hunt. We take old Copper Dog out, and he takes off in trees within, I don't know, right away.
Yeah.
So we...
Like there was one just lay up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Copper wasn't known for going deep. He would hunt
He
for
was
the
10
close
years
one.
old.
Yeah, he may take him a little bit, but he's gonna find out one where he didn't have to run that far. So he trees that one, and we look up at it. Caleb's like, that's a small one. We're gonna leave it be. I'm like, okay, So he leashes Copper and leads him about 10, 15 yards away, and cuts him. And that dog, we were on the south end of this 400-acre timber pasture, and it's a narrow long because it runs the river.
Yeah.
So it's it's almost 3/4 of a mile in length. And that dog went clear to the other end. He went deep. And I'm like, oh my.
You son of a bitch.
I told Caleb, I said, I'm not walking.
Yeah.
He had a GPS collar on him. I said, let's walk back to the pickup. We'll drive to the other end. So we get to the other end, and old Copper's just hammering. We get down in there, big coon up in the top of this tree, and we shoot it out. He's loving up Copper and telling him, good boy, and we skin this coon out. And we go home for the night, and Caleb's all proud as a peacock, and put Copper in his nice straw-bedded kennel, and go out next morning, he's gone. Copper passed that
Really?
night. And normally, Caleb, skinned his coon and went in the bag, and then they fleshed him later or whatever.
Yep.
Well, that night, for whatever reason, I didn't stick it in with all the other hides, and I put it in its own bag and just throwed it in the freezer upstairs because I was probably tired.
Yeah. I was ready to go. Yeah.
So I took that hide to a taxidermist and had it done. So we have Copper's last coon hanging in our house, and he just bought his first place. And next weekend we're gonna take that up there for him.
Hell yeah.
Because I think he's 20 now, and that was 8 years ago. I don't even know if he remembers
the significance.
That it's there even.
Yeah.
It's in my gun room. So I'm gonna take that up there so he can put it at his place, because that's just to me that's what it's all about.
Yes.
And he hunted multiple dogs after that and never had that bond. He won, he did well with it, but he never had that bond like he did with Copper.
Yeah.
I mean, Copper would follow him around that farm, never even think about going hunting.
No, I got my boy.
Yeah,
I got my boy, yeah.
And
oh, you want me to go now? Now I'll go.
Now I'll go, yeah.
Yep.
And it was cool, and Copper he wouldn't do that with me. I tried a couple times, like, hey, I'll let you out, fucking run. And I'm like,
you old bastard.
I'm a son of a bitch. Now I gotta go walk through the timber and get that. But Caleb could come home, let him out, and he'd follow him around.
Yeah.
And it was just, Caleb loved him up. And
dogs are meant for, certain dogs are meant for certain people.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Our house dog hates me. That's my wife's dog. He looks at me like, you need to die. Me and her will be fine together. Jeez. Yeah.
I mean, you got a big garage. You can just stay out there.
Stay out there. We don't really like you. I'm sure she don't like you. She told me. She's just putting up with you.
Yeah.
You're kind of fat. You're going to die some days. It's going to be fine.
I'm going to sleep on your pillow.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
And he does. If I get home late, that son of a bitch is on my pillow, and I got to fight him to get it back. He weighs all of 10 pounds, and he can fight for a pillow better than any person I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. No, so I just, I try and encourage everybody to get out in the timber, get out. I don't care if you even know what you did, to figure it out.
It doesn't matter what season. You can go look for sheds, you can mushroom hunt, you can bird hunt, you can coon hunt. It doesn't matter. Get out there and look around to your surroundings.
Just the neat shit you find out there too. Like some of them old timbers, unfortunately, back in the day, that was the garbage dump.
It was.
But you find some neat shit in there.
Yeah.
Like I found some old, I don't know, you call them like the moonshine jugs, and just some
the old porcelain type.
Yeah, ceramics.
Yes, that's it.
I mean, there's just some cool stuff out there that go out and look for it. It's there.
Somebody left it there 50 years ago.
Yeah,
60 years ago.
That's the cooler part to me is how long has this been
here?
Yeah. Like
how to get here.
Yeah. What's the story behind it?
Yeah.
You're in the middle of 160 acres of timber, and there's a disc. Like,
yes.
Nobody's dissed this ground. Like, how did it get here?
Yeah, there was a scoop shovel, not the handle. The handle had been gone, but it was standing up against this tree, and the tree grew around it.
Yeah.
And how long has that been? I mean, the tree was 8 feet around.
Yeah,
and there was just a scoop sticking out of the bottom of it.
Yeah, that's the stuff that I live for.
Yeah.
Like, you can go to any city and see what every other person can see any day of the week.
Yes.
Get out in the timber and find something that maybe hasn't been seen for 20 years or more.
Because, when you're out there, you're more in tune with what's going on than I am driving down the road.
Oh,
sadly. Yeah. I should be paying attention driving down the road, but I'm not. But I'm out in that woods and I'm looking.
And whether you're religious or not religious or whatever, that's when I feel most at peace.
I agree.
And it's just because there's nothing pushing you.
There's nothing to worry about when you're in nature.
No.
To me.
No, that's
Like,
where.
like I've got zero qualms about sleeping on a cot, nothing else, in the middle of nature
Oh yeah.
than I do walking down the street of a town.
I'll tell you what, I probably had some of my best night's sleep, not even on a cot, in the sand, not even on a blanket.
Yeah.
You know, you're out there, you're having a good time, and
Sand fleas, man. I can't. I've paid for that.
have you?
Sand fleas, they're like chiggers.
Yeah,
They get in tight spots, so I've got to have a. Well, I try to have a cot
up off the ground.
up off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, there's been, especially, not so much now, but in my younger years, you know, 20, 21, 22, you're having a great night fishing, I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
I get close to the fire, curl up. If I hear, back then, my bells ring on my rod, because I used to run the old clip-on bell.
Oh,
up
yeah.
on the
I
top.
still do on occasion.
Yeah, you
My
know,
channel cat rods.
you wake up, you go get them, and you're revived for the next 2 or 3 hours after that, you know?
And then you pass out again.
Yeah, you go back to sleep, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can sleep anywhere in nature.
Me too.
If I go to a hotel room, I may not sleep where the damn,
No.
but you get me out there, oh,
Yeah,
that's great.
That's
Yep.
where I'm whole. I don't know how to explain it anything other than that.
It's
You know
just
what I mean?
peaceful, relaxing, and my wife knows I own a business. I have 4 kids. There's times where I gotta get away.
Yes.
And she knows I'll come home from being out in the timber or fishing. I'm in the best mood I've been in for 2 weeks. Because everything goes away.
Nothing else matters in
Yep.
that moment.
You come home, you feel new, you feel better. You just, I mean.
And you've solved 75% of the problems that you went into the woods with.
Oh, you're exactly right.
You know?
Not because you're thinking about, I mean, for me anyway, it's not like I go in there and try and think about them, but I'll be sitting there and all of a sudden you'll be like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
shit, that's all I gotta do.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Done. You know, and
Yep.
you go back the next day.
And you've spent 2 weeks worrying about that.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
you know, and there's just a lot to be said for finding that out in nature, and unfortunately, we're losing part of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Society is definitely going away from that.
yeah, you know, and I don't even look at my phone when I'm out there. I mean, it's there for emergencies. It's there for basically emergencies.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, and other than that. That's probably the only time in my life where I'm not checking it, like, oh, who texted me, who called me, what email did I get, what bill, you know, because nowadays my invoices come via email, you know, looking through it or whatever. You can just be like, chill.
Yes.
I don't care what that phone's doing.
And if you're on the Raccoon River, Verizon does not work. And if you're on Des Moines, US Cellular does not work.
Yeah.
So the Raccoon was so low I couldn't get my boat on it last year.
Yeah.
I almost switched to US Cellular just so I didn't have service when I was out fishing.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. I mean, that's where my nephew's fishing spot, there's no service.
Yeah.
And that's perfect. Like, I
Yes.
don't even take my phone down there with me because there's no
sense.
service.
Gonna kill the battery
Yeah.
anyway.
So we just, I mean, we kind of joke, me and my brother-in-law, is like, somebody's got to live to get to the top to call, because there is no service down there.
Yeah.
Like, if shit goes south, somebody's got to run away.
Gotta get,
Yeah,
yes.
one of you
Yeah.
run away. It's not going to be me, I'm not fast enough. So you guys,
Tell my story.
yeah, somebody run away and go get it. But, yeah, it's, yeah, that's just, it's amazing to me. I love it.
Yeah, I agree.
And I hope, you know, I'll be honest with you, that's the one thing that made me sad about Spencer not being a teacher anymore.
Just passing that love on.
Because he did
He
fishing
did.
tournament with those kids. He got them involved with nature.
Yes.
And
He did things that our parents did with us that
Right.
a lot of parents don't do now.
yeah, I mean, I know of kids that only fished for the first time with Spencer and now love to fish.
Yes.
You know, and I am so grateful he got to do what he always wanted to do in his life, and it's amazing. He's very good at what he does.
He is so driven that anything that comes his way, he's earned.
Yep,
Because he's pushed himself that hard.
yep. It just makes me sad that we don't have more teachers like him.
I agree.
Because my boys loved him as a teacher. My daughter, I mean, he was an amazing teacher. And not because he was super smart and, made them learn everything that they needed to learn. He made them learn without even them knowing they were learning, because he related it to everyday life in nature.
Yeah. And looking back, the best teachers I have had were science teachers.
Yeah.
Because that related to me.
Right.
Like Gary Stein, works at the bank.
Yeah, great guy.
One of the best teachers I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He was my 7th grade life science teacher.
Yeah.
Football coach.
Yeah.
He believed in a 70-pound 7th grader.
That's right. Hey.
He shouldn't have. I got my ass kicked a lot. But no, my science teachers growing up, that's what got me to be a science teacher.
Yeah.
When I taught.
They're few and far between. One of my favorite teachers was Jan Sherrington. Her daughter's now a teacher at Greene County.
Nice.
Kirsten. And Jan was a photography and literature teacher. And she
something you wouldn't have cared a shit about.
Nothing. I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But photography, she took you out into, I remember almost every week when we had that class, we went to Squirrel Hollow.
Yeah.
To take pictures.
Which is a state park around our area. Yeah.
To take pictures and that sort of stuff. So I got to go to the timber. I got to go, do that thing. And then for literacy and reading books, all that stuff, she would correlate it to outdoors. Like, who takes somebody to, for what she taught, we went to Living History Farmers because it related to a book we read.
Yeah.
So then we got to go do it. That's again.
You have to live it a little bit.
You got to go out into the outdoors. I remember starting our own fires and cooking our own bread, and she did all that. Yes,
that's cool.
So we went to, so every book you read, which most of hers seemed to have something to do with the outdoors for one reason or another, you know. Then we would do.
You have to live it a little bit.
Something of it. So I remember going to our local park in Grand Junction because I went to East Green, had a park 2 blocks from the school.
Mm-hmm.
And we built our own fires and made our own bread from scratch and cooked our own meal because that was something they did in this book that we had read. And we got to do all that. And
you'll never forget it.
No, she's an amazing. She still substitutes. And my kids, when they had her when she was 7, just love her because it's still that way. I mean, this is a woman that 16-year-old boys, right? She would say, just take my Jeep and go out to Squirrel Hall and take pictures. She had a brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee. And she would put us 16-year-old boys and her personal vehicle and say, just go. That is a love for children that you don't find,
My dad wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
He knew better.
And old Cher, we called her Cher, would just not even blink an eye. Just, go do it, go. And you bring it back. You know what? You never beat on it or anything because...
No, hell no.
It was unbelievable that somebody would trust you with this, And, so she was a big part of my outdoors through high school because she allowed it. She enabled it.
Yes.
She got you out there. She got you... And she was of the era... I wouldn't say she's a hippie, but she had a little of that in her.
Yeah.
And so,
she was earthy.
She was very earthy, yes. And so she would encourage us to kind of do free-spirited things like that. Like, I can remember...
That time we all got high as...
Yeah, no. But I can remember, we were out there, and we all had our cars in high school and whatever, and I thought they were badass, and now looking back, they weren't. But she's like, wouldn't it be cool to get a picture of a car sliding around that gravel road? And we're like, yeah. She's like, we'll do it. I mean, she just... We'll do it. Like, what are you waiting for? I mean...
So the third one that hit the bridge.
Yeah. It was just... You look now what my kids have for teachers, and you talk about Gary, and I talk about her, there's not many of those.
There's not.
And that's... Which
the education system has changed so much.
Huge.
Like, even when I was teaching, I was like, this isn't... Yeah. I mean, they made it hard to be a teacher.
They have, very hard. You know, I've got several friends, great friends, that are in the educational field. They started out as teachers, and they've since moved to, I don't know what they call it now, teacher coaches. They have coaches, for teachers, where that teacher's in charge of 5 teachers to make sure, and then they went from there to
superintendent, principals, counselors.
Because they don't enjoy the teaching because of the way they made it.
When you have to change your complete curriculum every 3 years because the state changes their policies, it sucks.
Yeah, and that's what they said. You know, we don't. It's not what it was when they got into it.
Yeah.
And I got a daughter that's going to be a teacher, and they encourage it, but they also warn her, like, you're going to be a teacher. We love that because we need them.
Yes.
We need good teachers.
There's no way around it.
No. But they also say, make sure you get something with it. Because the teacher burnout rate is so high.
Yes.
And, you know, and so I talked to her. I'm like, sis, you sure? She's like, yes, Dad, I want to.
And I think she'll be great.
Oh, she will be. I mean, she's, so my wife's the oldest, I said.
Mm-hmm.
So we had the oldest kids. So we've got a lot of littles in our family. And my daughter's name...
Still coming.
Yeah, still coming.
Because there's 21 years difference.
Yeah. and now we've got grandbabies coming, so she'll be an aunt. And her name's Emma, but all the little... Emmy. And everybody calls her Emmy.
Emmy or Sissy?
Yeah, and the littles would shit on us to get to Emmy. I mean, we are dirt on their feet compared to Emmy. And their parents included. Like, if Emma walks in the room...
That's it.
Everybody else is gone. Emmy is here. So she's going to be an amazing teacher. She wants to do the littles. And, I mean, it's just... it's a tough field anymore.
It is.
And I salute Spencer. You know, I never had the opportunity to have you as a teacher for any of my kids. We're too close in age, and things have changed. And but Spencer was an amazing teacher, and
he's a good dude, and that translates to the classroom and to his videos and whatever he does, because he's generally a good guy.
He is, and he truly loves nature.
Yes.
You know,
and brings that science aspect to it.
Yes.
So he's always getting better.
Yes. Yeah, and you do too. I mean, that's part of
I try to. I really try to. Yeah.
I've learned more from you and Spencer on the river than I've learned from anybody in my 44 years of life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just because you guys get it and you understand it, and you helped me be a better fisherman on the river. You know, and
well, it's something that we all love, so it's easy to learn something that you care that much about.
True.
You know what I mean? If I was trying to teach you calculus or something, you'd be like, this dude's a dumbass.
I don't care. Good. If I need to know that, I'll call you.
He's a dumbass.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that in my business. You know, I hire a lot of high school kids.
Yes.
And
most of them do well.
They do well, but there's some that shine, and it's because they want to. That's their interest. That's their love. That's their, and there's a lot of truth to that. It's a lot easier to teach somebody that wants to learn.
Yes. Yes.
I mean,
they're not there for a paycheck. They're not there to pass the time.
Yep.
They want it. Yeah.
So, I suppose that translates right over into anything in nature.
And you're a coach, so you could think back to the top 5 people you've ever coached, and it's because they wanted to be there the most.
Oh, you're exactly right.
It didn't matter what their athletic ability was, didn't matter who their parents were, what skill level they were at. The 5 that wanted to be there the most have always been my 5 favorites.
You know, the funny part is, you say that, and I think back when I was in high school, right?
Yeah.
And I was a hardworking kid that wanted it. And I had this kid that was a year younger than me. And I'm not going to say his name or whatever, but this kid...
Douchebag.
This kid didn't come from anything, right?
Yeah.
And he provided for himself a lot and whatever, and had 0 athletic ability. 0. But he worked and worked. He worked twice as hard as I did. And
which is saying something, because you cared about it.
I cared about
and
it.
You
and
put
this
your
kid,
best effort in.
This kid just was relentless, right? And even with that relentlessness, he just never could play.
He was par.
Right.
Yes.
And I remember thinking then, like, God, I kind of felt.
I feel for that.
Yeah, you know, I didn't feel sorry because there was no feeling sorry for him because
Yeah.
he wasn't that type of kid.
But his heart broke.
Yeah.
You know, at his level of accomplishment.
I kind of lost track of him, right, for like 5 or 6 or 7 years after I graduated. I got married, had kids.
Yes.
Life went crazy.
And his path wasn't your path.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Facebook came along, and I don't even know why. My wife and I, who graduated in the same class, dated all the way through high school, one night we're talking. I'm like, I wonder what happened to so-and-so. And she's like, I don't know. You know, he's not around here anywhere. So I get on Facebook and I search his name. That kid is one of the top guys in a technology business. He's been to Dubai. He's been all over. He's highly successful.
That is awesome.
So he took that drive that he had and never let out of it. He finally found his groove.
Yes, he went from something that he couldn't accomplish to something he could master.
Yeah, and it just, every time, so I friended him on Facebook, you know, and he was one of those kids that a lot of people picked on, but I never, like, I liked the kid.
Yeah.
I didn't pick on him because I knew it wasn't his choice, right? Like, I didn't.
He was out of place.
He was out of place.
Searching for his place.
Yeah. And I shouldn't say I didn't pick on him. I didn't pick on anybody. But I didn't stand for it when people picked on him because the kid just wanted to be good at something, right? And every time I see him post something new he's done or what, I feel prideful.
Yeah.
I didn't have shit to do with it.
Yeah.
But because I saw something in that kid when we were both kids, and it translated over 100% now, like, I have girls, I coach girls softball, I have naturally gifted, and I have hard workers. And then I have naturally gifted hard workers.
Which is a blessing.
Yes. Yes.
Because it's rare.
Yeah.
It
but
is
those
rare.
hard workers that aren't naturally gifted, as a coach, I will put in...
So much better.
I will put in 10 extra hours a night if I had to, because they want it.
Yes.
Nothing pisses me off more than the elite gifted that just do the bare minimum.
No, they don't have to.
Yeah.
They don't have to.
No. You know, my daughter is a gifted athlete.
She's an elite athlete.
But she
But
puts in the hours,
Yes.
man. I mean, for years at 9 o'clock at night on Wednesday nights, we went to Ames to our pitching coach.
yes. I was going to say, how many softballs has she pitched
Oh.
in her lifetime? Hundreds of thousands.
Yes, and hit hundreds of thousands. I mean, she wanted it. And so fortunate, right? Because she had the talent and the drive. But I still have that huge soft spot for those girls that just have the drive.
Yes.
Like, it is unbelievable.
Because like you said, softball may not be their thing.
No.
But that work ethic is
They're
going to
be
catch
successful
somewhere.
Yes, they're going to be.
It's going to catch somewhere.
Yeah, they're going to be successful. They're going to be. And you unfortunately don't realize it till you hit like 30. Like, and you look back at your high school friends, your buddies, your acquaintances, your classmates that you didn't really know. And you go, oh, yeah.
I see the pattern.
Yeah, they weren't that good in sports, but they always worked at it.
Yeah.
And now they're doing really well.
And the guys you thought you kind of liked, you're like,
yeah, douchebags. Yeah, douchebags. Yeah. You know, it's just crazy, you know?
It is.
So, yeah, for me, I get the biggest thrill out of the kids that just work.
Yeah.
I mean, I do care because I'm a coach, so I want good.
we need to win.
Yeah.
If any of you are watching, let's win.
Yeah. But
But
the kids that give it their heart, those are the kids that I'll lay down and die for.
it makes it easy when you're going to softball games 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends.
Yep.
It makes it easy to go show up for those kids that want.
Oh, exactly. And there's nothing more rewarding to me than when those kids finally have success and they come over and
You see that spark?
yeah, it's just unbelievable, man. I mean, I don't know. As coaching to me is a lot like, well, it is the same as teaching somebody how to do something outdoors. when they finally shoot their first deer, catch their first fish, whatever it may be, find their first mushroom, which is not easy.
It is not.
No.
Especially the last couple of years.
I'll be honest, my first mushroom of the year is always a hard one.
Yeah.
And then you see it finally and you're like, oh, I better walk back. Like, you know, like,
yes.
just getting that. And now they're cheating. You see they make glasses that make them stand out.
I've wore them.
Do they work? No. Okay, good. I'm glad of that.
The ones I wore, no.
Because I saw an
Because I
advertisement.
literally found some without them, put them on,
No different.
even less.
Really?
I could see it less than with my naked eye.
So I'm not gonna lie. I actually I can smell them before I can see them a lot of times.
I can believe that. There's definitely a distinct odor
Yeah.
of a morel mushroom.
Like I've been out walking before and I'm like, shit, there's some around here. Like,
Yeah.
nobody move. You're gonna step on them.
Yeah.
Everybody drop your knees, move some leaves, do something,
Yeah.
because I can smell them. But
That's awesome. You know they train dogs to hunt mushrooms.
really,
Yeah.
I need to get one of them. Maybe
Yeah,
I am
can't-
one of them.
I can't train them because I have to find them first.
Yeah. No, honestly, I can smell them. When you,
Yep.
no, not one or two, but when you get into that patch, you're like, oh, they're
Yeah.
here.
Or even that humidity.
Yeah.
It's almost like a humidity thing in the air.
Oh, you're
and
right.
You're like,
Because I've been out hunting them before, and my wife's with me because she loves them, and I'm, you're walking for an hour, and you're like, you know what? It doesn't even feel right.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't right. We're not.
yeah.
You just like, done. Turn around. Let's get out of here. But then you get out there that day where everything's right, and you're like, we're gonna find
Yeah.
them.
Yep.
You just feel it, sense it, smell it.
Then you can't do anything wrong. There's like
Right.
every third step. You're like, oh, here's 4.
Yeah.
Here's 4.
I'll tell you what, it's been a lot of years ago. But there was a year, let me think. It's been probably, well, Caleb would have been like 1. So it's been like 19 years ago. We had a really hot, wet spring. Like really hot, wet. And I remember I worked at a co-op then, so I was putting in a lot of hours in the spring. It was hard for me to get to go do it. And I walk out of my house, and there is 4 morel mushrooms on my way to my pickup. This is when I lived in town. And I looked down. I'm like,
They were everywhere.
yeah. And I'm like, I might call him dead. If I find 4 right here,
Yes.
and it just so happened we got a pounding rain that day. And so the next day I knew it was the stars of the line. It was a Friday, so I knew I wouldn't have to work the weekend. And it was me and my brother-in-law and a couple, but maybe one buddy. And so we take a cooler of beer that it took 2 of us to carry. And we head out through
You're going to do something. You do
Yeah.
it right.
We head out through the timber, right? Then we got our bags and whatever. It got to the point where we actually dumped the ice out of the cooler, put as many beers in our pockets as we could, and then left the rest of the beers in the cooler. We filled a cooler and 2, there were like seed sacks of grass seeds, so they're kind of a woven fiberglass
Yeah.
type, full of mushrooms.
Holy crap.
And we're giddy.
Yeah.
So we go back home, we're cutting them, getting them ready to fry up or whatever, and we call other brother-in-laws and friends. We
Yeah.
got so many goddamn
Get
mushrooms.
over
Everybody's
it.
got to eat
Yeah.
them, And we did that for like 4 days. You could find that many mushrooms. And like I
Shit.
said, it's been 19 years
Yeah.
ago that happened.
The perfect storm.
Yeah, and have never seen anything like it. I went back to those spots because there were spots, and as on ground I owned, that you literally could not walk. You had to stop and get them all picked, and then we got on our hands and knees and kept picking because you would step on them.
Jesus.
It was just,
That's crazy.
it was crazy, and
Yeah.
that would have been probably when you were out in South Dakota
Yeah.
time frame, you
Yeah.
know. But a few of my buddies and whatever, we all remember it. We're like, oh, we could have that one more time if we could just see that
Yeah.
one more time, because it was unbelievable.
Yeah, when I was out in South Dakota, all I saw was pheasants and walleye. That's all that lives there. Pheasants and walleye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're about right. That's the only thing I found out there. And cattle. There's a lot of cattle.
Yeah. All right, buddy. We have been at it, and we haven't taken a breath. So let's wrap it up. Let's do our last cast, and then we'll move on till next week.
Sounds good.
For you talked about your trip in August. Do you have any other guarantees other than hitting your river holes?
No guarantees as of yet. Like I said, I'm hopefully in the next week or so I find out when my brother-in-law is going to be back, and then I want to line something up for that. So I'm kind of leaving options open until, because I want to make sure he gets something cool while he's here.
Yeah, that's cool.
But definitely been talking to my road hunting buddies. We're getting ready on the asparagus because I'm a asparagus freak. I could eat that.
I love it.
Oh,
Absolutely love it.
I mean, we do that pretty hard and heavy.
Little olive oil and Chicago seasoning. I use Chicago seasoning on my steak. So I just do a little olive oil in a pan, get that Chicago seasoning on it.
You see, I
It's
take
pretty tough to
mine,
beat.
you get a bundle of it, and wrap it with bacon, and then coat it in olive oil, put it in foil, and put it on my smoker.
Oh, I've never had
Ooh.
smoked asparagus.
Ooh, that's tough to beat.
I bet.
And then you get the bacon. I mean, bacon makes
I mean,
bacon,
shit.
right? Like,
Yeah.
it's bacon, so it's good. But
Kind of tastes like dog turd, but it's bacon.
But it's bacon. So we do that, and then my wife likes to kind of like put it in a wok, cut it up in small pieces, saute it in olive oil, and she's got some seasoning she likes on it, which it's good. So
Yeah.
And I don't even know what it is.
Yeah,
It
that's
tastes
the best part.
delicious.
If you don't know what it is, you don't have to do it.
Right. So
That's
she
the
cooks
best
it up
part.
that way. I mean, we eat it that way. Well, I mean, I try and get enough to where we eat it almost every day until,
Yeah.
you can't get it anymore.
You take a piss and you're like, God, I need to quit eating
Yeah,
asparagus.
exactly. So that's like my main goal right now is getting on the asparagus because I love it.
I haven't been out, of course, but I haven't seen anybody posting anything.
No, and I've checked some of my spots.
Early spots.
And it's, well, unfortunately, one of my earliest spots that I can rely on, we got that frost, and it made it really soft and gross. So I cut all those tops off,
Hopefully it comes.
blessed it,
Yeah.
and I'm hoping for it. But I think
Yeah.
now that's going to be late at that spot. So
Yeah.
usually, the 1st of May is when,
It's go time.
yeah, you can start getting some. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's my buddy's birthday tomorrow, and that's usually when we start asparagus and mushroom hunting.
yeah.
It's usually his birthday.
And I think, they're talking this weekend a little more moisture and then some warmer temperatures, so that mushrooms
I
should.
hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I had a friend that found some mushrooms already,
Yeah,
but they were about the size of my pinky,
yeah,
and I can't see that good.
yeah. And I've heard contradictory reports of like the metro area.
Yeah.
I've seen some that say they found them, and others are like, I've been out for 5 days and I haven't seen nothing.
Yeah.
So I think we're still at least a week away
Yeah, I
for
think you're
good
right.
mushrooms.
Like I said, them ones were pinky size. They came from the Boone Valley.
Yeah,
If I gotta look that hard, I'd just wait a little longer.
yeah, yeah,
So-
absolutely right. All right, buddy. Well, I appreciate you stopping
Yeah,
by.
you bet.
It's always good to sit down, and even before we started tape, we talked for a half hour just
Oh,
catching
yeah.
up. I love sitting around because we don't get to hang out near as much as we have in the past or would like to. So, thanks for coming by. I
You bet.
appreciate it.
Anytime.
And if you guys liked it, hit like and subscribe. I'll have a new video out next week. Hopefully, I'm road hunting carp. If not, this weekend Friday when I get off work, I'm going to go carp fishing and bait fishing. Try to get a few more for the bait tank. Saturday, I'm going with Joey Hoskinson.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to go pick up his deer down in southern Iowa. So we're going to leave before sunup, and we're going to hit some spillways, and we're going to mushroom hunt all the way down to get it and back. And then Sunday, I am heading to southern Iowa to one of the subscribers, and we're going to mushroom hunt and crappie fish.
That'll be cool.
So hopefully I get 3 good videos out this weekend.
Most definitely.
Hell yeah. But thank you guys for watching. Have a good week.